Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. Darian and Landon with us as well. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours. And a lot to get to. Got to talk NFL as another week wrapped up last night with the Browns and Broncos. Broncos getting a convincing win. But it was an interesting game, a fun game to watch. We got to talk a good night of basketball tonight, including the Grizzlies on the road against the Mavericks. Some good college games as well. So a lot to get to over these next 3 hours. But Brett will also get the college football playoff rankings tonight. Can't forget about those, as this will be the last ranking show before it's officially unveiled on Sunday. Brett, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thank goodness the last Tuesday night reveal before the one that really matters, the only one that matters, and that's the one Sunday morning. And that one will be the playoff. Mm-hmm. That will be unarguable. You can stay mad all you want. Mm-hmm. Everybody had since late August to work on their resume and get in the playoffs. It's just like at college basketball time. All the pleading and begging and comparing, it's all from teams that hadn't won enough.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, nobody complains that are the last four in teams don't complain. It's
Tennessee's sitting pretty. They're watching the world burn.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so you'll see, I'm sure, a lot of outrage. More outrage after tonight than I think we've seen with any rankings, because it feels like however it's ranked today, very little will probably change in terms of teams being in or out.
It shouldn't. It did last year between final Tuesday night and actual Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's true, but that was a little different with the injury and
it was
what that meant. I mean, something could happen. We could see a major injury, and that could change a lot. But it feels like whatever happens tonight will likely be very close to what it is on Sunday. And so I think a lot of people will be watching to see kind of what the committee does, especially I've seen a lot of people kind of pointing out with Miami and the loss. How does that drop them? And, it feels like the ACC is the conference to keep an eye on as we get to these championship games.
It does, in Miami 10-2. Mm-hmm. And also, I hear some talking about they had escapes. Well, they escaped.
Yeah.
They won. That is the object. And one of those escapes, and I've done it, I would suggest to people, don't poo-poo going out to Berkeley, if nothing else because of the travel and the time difference and playing that game and able to escape with a win. I was not a part of a win. Ole Miss lost going out there, but Miami did. They won by one. That was game day, but Berkeley all fired up and really dressed up and ready to pull the big upset. And Miami got out of there with a narrow 1-point win. I think that should be a credit to the U.
Yeah, I mean, win games, right? And, they were able to, however ugly they were or needed some magic at the end, they were able to win those games. And, that's got to matter. Wins have to matter. And so I hope at least we see that reflected tonight.
I think the math is pretty simple for the weekend. Stop me if you disagree. Clemson wins, then it's Clemson as the champion, and SMU, they're in. SMU's in. Do we agree?
They should be. I mean.
And congratulations to them. You talking about the longest and strangest trip over 40 years.
Yes.
Literally the death penalty.
Yes.
And remember when they came out of it, those teams were just punching bags for years and years and years over a lot of different conferences. The Tigers were often in the conference with them. So I'm happy for my SMU friends. I am. And so we think they're in.
Yes.
If Clemson wins, Clemson's the champion. We know they're in. And Clemson will maybe, well, I don't know if they'll be the fourth seed or not, but they'll be in as by virtue of being a champion. SMU's in. The fun starts if SMU wins by one, then who to put in? Do you put in Miami, or do you put in one of the three-loss SEC teams? There's not anybody else really making a case, is it?
No, it feels like those four teams.
All right, I think it should be Miami, and that would be two from the ACC and only three from the SEC. And I would say to the three-loss SEC teams, I can easily find why you're not in. 10 beats 9. Okay, I know strength of schedule. I know that. But go through narrowly winning over Virginia Tech for the U, narrowly winning at Cal. That's not that indifferent from some of these SEC profiles. Not all, but some of them. And here's one. and I know the SEC people are going to laugh as soon as I say this because you're just going to stereotype their football history.
Mm-hmm.
When nobody tops the SEC's football history, and this team doesn't top Alabama, sure doesn't top Ole Miss's, and I don't think historically it even tops South Carolina's. Look what Miami did to Duke. Duke would win. Duke would be fine in the SEC this year. And, Brian, I said it from mid to late September on, I think the SEC is plenty good, and it was, and it is. But I didn't think it was vintage. I don't think the rest of college football, with maybe the exception of Oregon, is vintage. We could look up in 16-0 Oregon, and we've all missed a great story.
Yes, yeah, and that's just kind of the season Oregon's had, right? Like it's been nothing.
It's way up there.
Yeah, it's way up there. They're far away from everybody else, and on and off the field, right? Like Oregon as a team and as a university is up there in the top, left-hand corner of the state. We don't really think about it much, but on the field, they're playing so well that it feels like, yeah, we know Oregon's going to win. Why are we even worried about it?
And here's something else. We have a little bit of Oregon fatigue because they never closed the deal, and we're all going, yeah, they're up there winning now, but they'll blow it down the stretch. Well, they didn't blow it down the stretch. They may lose in the Big Ten championship game. They may go out in the first round. They're going to be in the Elite Eight. They're going to buy through. They'll be the one overall seed if they win Saturday in Indianapolis. But we have a little bit of Oregon fatigue, a little bit what I've talked about with Phil Knight, all that money spent and no championships in football and basketball. So I would say Miami, and if in a year that we reversed everything, I would be fighting and lobbying hard for the SEC. But I don't think it is that slam dunk to lose that much blood over it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just pulled up the odds. You can bet on which team makes the teams to make the playoffs, and right now it is.
Well, it's needing action bad.
It is. Right now, it is only the teams that are kind of in this conversation. So I'll run through what the odds are for them to make the college football playoff. SMU, which we both say we think they should be safe, win or lose, they should be in. They're minus 250 to make the playoff. So they are. Pretty.
No. What site is this, Brian?
This is DraftKings. The first one I pulled up is DraftKings. We can go later and look at some of the other ones.
Polymarket on the election, you could have taken that to the bank.
Yeah.
And Polymarket was way out there, late September on, calling the eventual winner. So this is at DraftKings.
These odds are at DraftKings. So SMU minus 250 to make the college football playoffs. Miami plus 700 to make the college football playoffs after that loss last week. Alabama minus 250 to make the college football playoffs. South Carolina plus 800 to make the college football playoffs. And then Ole Miss plus 3,000 to make the college football playoffs.
So it's saying South Carolina would probably be in over Ole Miss.
That's what it's saying is kind of the direct
But Alabama
order,
would be in.
Yes, would be Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss in terms of the SEC teams.
And that would make for some very interesting on-campus games with, I think, the defeated team in the SEC championship game and Tennessee and Alabama potentially all traveling.
That would be wild.
Tennessee could be the home team as the 7 versus 10.
Could be, and that'd be great if they were that team. That'd be really cool for them to host. But no, I think we're going to learn a lot tonight of where they at least the committee where they see all these teams and maybe what that could mean for Sunday.
I guess the Alabama win at Wisconsin still impresses people.
I guess so. Being a road game and that
it was better that day than it is now.
Much better that day than it is now. But it's still, in that type of environment on the road, I guess I could see it.
And if you're not going to be rewarded for that, why play it?
Sure, yeah. You've got to be rewarded for going on the road to a Big Ten team and a team that, traditionally good and is a tough place to play. So,
I know a lot of people are wondering about bowls for the Tigers, bowls for Ole Miss, bowls for teams that aren't going to be in the college football playoff, and about the local bowl. I know people are worried or not worried, but wondering about who's going to be in it. And from what I understand from the Arkansas perspective, is kind of they've been to Memphis enough lately, and they want a little something new / different, and that might be Birmingham. Okay. And I told them at least you're not having to go to Legion Field. You do have to get to go to the new place at UAB. And also this factor from what I get from some with Arkansas, just preference, is next year they will come to this area September 13th to play Ole Miss in an SEC league game. The very next weekend, on September 20th, they will play the Tigers at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like I didn't know necessarily that they played Ole Miss right before that. I didn't know that's how it lined up, but I mean, when you already next year have plans to go and play in Memphis against the Tigers in that same stadium, you've been here a lot lately. You're gonna be in this area a lot next year. Let's spread it out and go somewhere else. That doesn't bother me.
The Arkansas September schedule next year, the opening weekend, they will play Alabama, A&M, and Fayetteville. They'll wax them. Mm-hmm. Then September 6th, that's when they play Arkansas State in Little Rock. Yeah. September 13th to Oxford to play Ole Miss. September 20th to Memphis to play Memphis. September 27th in Fayetteville, Notre Dame.
Wow. All right.
What a September.
That's a September. I mean, that's tough. That's not easy. I wouldn't want that schedule.
No, and I don't think Sam Pittman is going to want it next year either.
No.
I think it even extends to basketball. Calipari doesn't want that schedule. He doesn't want to come.
Who would want that schedule?
Quick shot at Cal.
Yeah. Every coach at Arkansas.
Cal gets the U tonight in SEC ACC Challenge down in Miami.
Beginning, Brett. Yeah. So that'll be fun tonight. And
and Big Ten play begins tonight.
Big Ten
conference play
on Peacock. So you got to have the Peacock to watch those.
A full couple of nights of Big Ten conference games. Yeah. I like it.
I'm cool with it. It doesn't bother me. I mean, those will be good games. I think we've got Northwestern and Iowa tonight, which will be a good game. So, I mean, that doesn't bother me. You want to start in December? Start in December. That's fine.
I think tonight you have UCLA Washington.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's the last game of the night. Yeah.
And that is a Big Ten. I almost have to check to say that is that is a Big Ten game.
Before you say it and go, is this really a Big Ten game? Yes, it's a Big Ten game.
Oh, the Ole Miss Bowl perspective. Let me get back to that. I lost train of thought. I'm sorry. Ole Miss perspective on bowls. Hearing a couple things. We'll know Sunday. Las Vegas is in play. Even Nashville in play. A couple of the Floridas. If Alabama gets in, that probably helps Florida. Yeah. Chances if Alabama gets in the 12 team. And Brett McMurphy even had today Ole Miss in the Liberty Bowl.
Really? Interesting. Old Brett McMurphy. And his has been. Well, I mean, we've been talking about Brett McMurphy and his bowl predictions since before week 1 of the season. I mean,
I think he sends them out in May.
And what I love about Brett McMurphy is that not only does he have bowl projections week 1 of the regular season, he has odds for those made up bowl games already. Brett McMurphy also had a tweet on Sunday morning that I thought was really disturbing. And it's one of the perils. And I've told you before, I think, I don't want to do it right now. I'm plenty busy on Friday and Saturday during the football season. You are too. But I think a Sunday morning kind of first reaction, fifth quarter. I told you that's what I'd call it. Fifth quarter, a Sunday morning, just go over everything that happened the day before. Bright and early Sunday morning. Well, he was listening to a show in Columbus doing that. Oh, yeah.
Vince Ferrara hosts a Sunday morning kind of first take. I know that's taken. Fifth quarter been taken. All the names have been taken, whatever you want to call it. Instant reaction, whatever it is. And, boy, you get them. They're really fresh mad. Well, Brett McMurphy's listening, and he tweeted that host, didn't name any of them. He said that host on a Columbus talk show said that Chip Kelly was on the take in the game against Michigan.
A host?
Now that is incendiary words.
That's crazy. That's insane.
So I made some calls, and I think Brett McMurphy generally hates sports talk radio, and there's a couple of journalists that are like that. Yeah. But I made some calls around to friends that I have in Columbus, and I got the audio. It clearly though that host clearly says, now I'm not saying he was on the take, but it wouldn't have been any worse of a game plan had he been. That's not saying you're on the take, though, is it? I mean, the host clearly said, I'm not, I know he wasn't. I'm not saying he was on the take, but the game plan couldn't have been any worse had he been. That's very irresponsible on Brett McMurphy's part.
That is very. Because I saw the same exact tweet that you did, and I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. But
that's a bomb.
Yeah, that's wild to say. But that's hilarious that you have
Brett
audio
Murphy just with the drive-by tweet.
Yes, that's fantastic.
That's cheap.
Very, very, but I would expect nothing less from Brett McMurphy. In case you're curious,
been fired everywhere.
Yes. In case you're curious where he has Memphis, he projects Memphis to play in the Myrtle Beach Bowl against North Carolina. That was on his latest projection.
He might as well be throwing darts. I don't know why we've given him the credence we have.
Yeah, I more like to bring him up early in the season to make fun of the fact that he's projecting bowls and has odds with them, because that's insane. But, whatever. Let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. A lot to get to over these next 3 hours. 3:30, Matt Infield from Action News 5. He'll join us. We'll talk Tigers with him. Got to talk Tiger football. Got to talk Tiger basketball. Maybe where he thinks the Tigers could end up in a bowl game. We'll learn that very soon. 3:45, we'll talk some college basketball. Really good night of college hoops tonight, and more importantly, tomorrow night. I mean, the ranked matchups we're getting tomorrow night should be a really fun night of basketball. We'll talk about what we got coming up tonight, some of the stories and news and nuggets from the college basketball world. 4 o'clock, Brent Beard from First Coast News in Jacksonville will join us. We'll talk college football with him, a lot of SEC and ACC. We'll get his thoughts on where these teams should be slated in the rankings tonight, how he feels about Miami, how he feels about these three-loss SEC teams that are all still trying to make their case for the college football playoffs. 4:30, we'll talk Grizzlies, their game tonight on the road against the Dallas Mavericks, another NBA Cup game, which if this isn't the last NBA Cup group play game, it's got to be the second to last. This is starting to wrap up, and I don't believe the Grizzlies will be in the
Feels
NBA
like the
Cup.
NBA Cup started right after the Olympics ended.
Yes, it is NBA Cup. It starts right when the season starts, and it goes for a good amount of time. But we'll talk Grizzlies and Mavericks at 4:30. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Beau Marchant will join us to talk the NFL. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending, and at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there for the Ultimate Game Room and Fall Sale. Complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, shuffleboard, and an arcade game. Help them clear out their overstock of theater seating. It's all priced to move. It's also fire pit weather, and at Family Leisure, all fire pits are 20 to 30% off. Don't forget about the spas. Spas up to $1,500 off the in-stock spas, and they're also ready for delivery. So get out to Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Landon, Darian, Bryant, Brett with you until 6 o'clock. We're Sports Time. And we want you to join us at 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Bryant mentions it, Family Leisure. We're always in our Family Leisure studios and the fire pits. What a great time to have one of those for these cold, really cold nights and mornings. This hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2025 models, the remaining 24s, and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be the Memphis Grizzlies. Back on the road after a 4-game homestand. You look up a 6-game win streak. 7 of their last 8 games have resulted in wins, and now they go on the road to face the Dallas Mavericks. We'll see what they can do with kind of a step up in competition. When you look at some of these teams that they've played, Detroit, Portland, Chicago, New Orleans, teams that are struggling. Even before that, the 76ers, a team that really hasn't been able to figure things out this season. But now on the road against a Mavericks team, 13-8 on the season. They were just in the NBA Finals last year. We'll see if the Grizzlies can handle that step up in competition. I think they will as they continue to get healthy. They have shown that they are a team that can compete with anybody out there. But this stretch that's coming up will be a tough one. Tonight on the road against Dallas, Thursday night at home against Sacramento, and then Saturday on the road against the NBA champs Boston Celtics. So we'll see what they look like tonight. But we also learned today that Jalen Wells was named NBA Western Conference Rookie of the Month alongside Jared McCain from the Eastern Conference. So definitely big honors for the second-round draft pick. And the other second-round draft pick last night, 51 points for Cam Spencer in the G League. I don't want to overreact about
no
G
defense
League games,
play.
Yes, but here's the thing, Brett. If I go to the local gym and put up 51 points, I expect Darian to say, hey, Brian's kind of a hooper. I mean, he's got something there. So I will say the same thing
That's
about
all
Cam
you're looking
Spencer.
for.
If you
51.
drop 51 points, that's pretty impressive.
That is. That's my top story. Grizzlies in Big D tonight versus the defending Western Conference champions. It's the NBA Group Cup play. I don't know or care that much about the NBA Cup, but I do know the Grizzlies are currently the 3 seed in the West and a game ahead of Dallas, who are currently the 5 seed in the West. Dallas with a 3-game winning streak and 6 straight for the Grizzlies. It's the classic setup. Something's got to give tonight.
Something's got to give. Oh, Brett, I love a something's got to give game.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day is the college football playoff rankings coming out tonight. It will be the final ranking show, the ranking show that feels like it's gone on way too long. It started too early. We've talked about it. Let's cut out a couple of those first rankings and maybe just have, 2 or 3 towards the end of the season. But we'll get one tonight, and then Sunday we'll get the real thing. We know there's still things that have to play out over the weekend, but it really feels like it's the ACC championship game that everyone is looking at. Clemson against SMU. I feel like if SMU wins or if they lose, they should still be in the playoffs. It would be a 2-loss team. The only 2 losses would be a regular season loss against BYU and then in the championship game against Clemson. If Clemson wins that game, though, they'll have the automatic spot as a conference champion. That would definitely make things easier for the committee, but if they lose, what happens after that? Is it Miami that gets in there after the loss last week? It crushed their hopes of being in the conference championship game, but was that enough to kick them all the way out of the college football playoffs, or will it be one of these 3-loss SEC teams? We know which teams they are. We know what their resumes look like. We know the arguments for and against all 3 of those teams being in, but I do think tonight will give us a really good idea at how the committee is viewing it going into these championship games.
Thank goodness that's mine. Not top story. Thank goodness for the last night of the college football Tuesday night dog and pony show. This has taken longer than the election took.
Yeah.
Let's get it over with. It's time to play ball. So many saying spot the ball. Let's just get the bracket and move along. And we get one more night of that imbecile Ward Manual on our TV before Sunday's final big reveal. I want somebody to explain this to me. Why did Georgia drop 9 spots going on the road and losing at Ole Miss when we know there's not going to be a 9-spot drop tonight for Ohio State after losing at home as a 20-point favorite? Why are we not talking about Ohio State barely hanging on and the fragility of them in the bracket? Why not? Because in the end, we also know Sunday morning we're revealing a month-long TV show. And Ohio State and Alabama, those brands sell, and people stop on that channel when they see that helmet for both.
Those brands are very, very loud, and it would do good for television. Well, I'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break, and when we come back, we're talking some Tigers with Matt Infield.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mix. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, and taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, 98 proof, crafted and savored responsibly.
Because it's Christmas, Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory that you have to move because you know it's Christmas. So don't wait. You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them for Christmas. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstock, one place to move. Tis the season for fire pits. And all fire pits at Family Leisure are now 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Let's say no more. Spas are in stock, ready for Christmas delivery, and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for Christmas. Just come on by and check out their gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find. Family Leisure. It's right at I-40 where family and fun come together for Christmas. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitney in Memphis, right off I-40.
So you're sitting there at your desk feeling trapped in your house, working from home, and you can't stop thinking about breakfast. Do you have anything to eat in the house? More importantly, it's not like anyone is watching you. Who's going to know if you sneak off to Sunrise on Jefferson or Sunrise East on Poplar and grab a quick bite to eat? You don't even have to eat in at Sunrise. Both locations will gladly prepare you a great meal to go. Your desk at home is going to feel a lot better when you're tucking into breakfast, or lunch for that matter, from Sunrise.
I'm with John Burgess from the world-famous Rendezvous in the alley since 1948. Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia, to Central Park in New York. Many people don't realize how much we do love them. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 per person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering. Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgess' Rendezvous in the alley since 1948, celebrating its 75th year.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Metis today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call them at 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Trying to sort out a couple of wrecks we had out here earlier. Looks good, actually, right now as we check it out live on 40 East at Warford, Hollywood, all the way over to White Station. As you travel down 240 right now, we've checked that. It's moving from Mill Branch on 240 eastbound all the way to 385 Billboards Parkway. Hey, don't miss pet photos with Santa this Saturday at the Humane Society. For more information, check out their website. It's easy. It's memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some Tigers, Matt Infield from Action News 5 joins us now. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. You look up after Feast Week and Thanksgiving and everything. Both Memphis football and basketball in the AP top 25. Let's start with basketball. I know we talked with you last week on Tuesday. Tigers were getting ready to play Michigan State. They go on to win that game and then just quite frankly run into the buzzsaw that is Auburn. I think they're one of the best teams in the country. What'd you make of that trip in its entirety, kind of that West Coast, including San Francisco, getting out of there with a 3-1 record?
Yeah, I think if you would have told any Tiger fan, if you would have told Petty Hardaway probably that at the start of that road trip, they would go 3-1, and the one loss would be in the Maui Invitational Championship game against, like you said, an Auburn team that, for my money, probably is the best team in the country right now. I think that everyone would sign up for that in a heartbeat. And, I think it really showed kind of the different ways this team could beat you as well, because obviously they beat a UConn team that, even though they might not be the caliber that they were the last couple of years, although I'm still willing to give Danny Hurley and that that program the benefit of the doubt that they're going to get it turned around. Although obviously they had a horrible week in Maui, but you win a track meet of a game like we talked about last week, where UConn and Memphis are trading threes and going up and down. And the Michigan State game that happened last Tuesday, that's a slower, more half-court oriented game, and the Tigers were the tougher team. The Tigers were a team that just played better really throughout the game. And the Auburn game, we talked with Penny yesterday because we were taping the show with him, and he said they played a really bad. It was their worst game of the week, and you can't spot teams like Auburn a 9-0 run the entire game, because even if you go on a run to get back into it, just the game of runs that it is, you're basically playing catch-up the entire way. So, yeah, I think they solidified themselves as a legitimate team that is obviously more than deserving of that top 25 ranking, and as we see more and more horrible losses by other AAC teams in non-conference play to some lesser competition, I think it just solidifies that if this team doesn't have the sort of collapse out of nowhere that last year's team has, they should be far and away the favorites to win this conference and, potentially once again to the tournament. I think they have the makings of a team that can win a couple of games and make some noise potentially.
Matt, we talked about it some last week with you, and we still had a game and a half to play in Maui. And we were pretty sure of ourselves then. Nothing could shake me from this, barring something catastrophic, unforeseen. This team is ahead of last year at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think we talked about it a little bit last week, and we talked about it for the last couple of weeks. This team has things that travel night to night, and they have players that are going to bring effort and energy and competitiveness night to night, whether the ball goes in the basket for them individually or not. Obviously, the defensive intensity is something that we've seen throughout, and that was what Petty said he wanted in the offseason, and he seems to have gotten it. This team seems to have guys that have all accepted their roles. They have a variety of different scores. I think I've brought it before. I would like, if they are going to go into the portal, I would like for them to get someone that fits more of the wing prototype, although someone brought it to me that they're basically playing three guards right now in their starting lineup in P.J. Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, and Colby Rogers, and they all do play seemingly a little bit bigger than just their pure size. And I do agree with that. I do think that you kind of run into problems against teams like Auburn, where those teams have legitimate wings that also play bigger than their size, as well as the athleticism to go with it. But, yeah, I'm with you. And obviously the shooting is a big part of it, too, because, last year's team, you were pretty dependent on David Jones to shoot the lights out basically every night, because a lot of other guys on the team were just inconsistent on a night-to-night basis. Yeah, shooting and defense is something that theoretically, especially the defensive side, should carry night to night. I just really like the mental makeup of this team and the way they fight for all 40 minutes every night.
And here are those things. Here are two things I've seen, not just at Maui, but all year. But in Maui, I saw 3 games in that bandbox against that competition. The Tigers only had 33 turnovers, so 11 per game. They had 33 turnovers in Maui. That's taking care of the ball. You can live with 11 per game. And they're playing defense, Matt, without fouling in an era where the officials, I think, are determined to call every single ticky-tack foul.
Yes, I will say on that note, over the course of those couple of games. And I think Musa and Dane Danger each, in a couple of those games, committed some fouls that I thought they could have gotten away with not doing. They're just silly fouls for the moment. But, you want those guys playing physical, obviously, and steady and toe. You just don't want them getting frustrated when they're in foul trouble like they were in, I believe it was the UConn game or Michigan State game. Because then I think we talked about, Nick Jourdain is a great kind of utility player that can do a little bit of everything, kind of your Swiss Army knife. I don't think that this team wants him playing the 5 for extended stretch of time, and they are a little bit thinner in the front court after Tyreek Smith left them. But yeah, like you said, if you can take care of the ball, if you can shoot like this, and if you can defend like this every single night and not send guys to the free throw line a million times, you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah. And when you go to the free throw line, the Tigers are making, for the season, 75%.
Yeah, I said I might have jinxed him after the San Francisco game. I said it feels like P.J. Haggerty hasn't missed a late clutch free throw the entire season, and then he missed a couple over the course of the week at Maui, which is that's just the law of averages doing its thing and kind of evening things out. But yeah, I feel confident. Even Musa, I think teams early in the season have tried kind of the mini Hakamusa, and he's made enough of them to where I don't think that the strategy is really going to work for teams if you're trying to play him off the floor late in games, get his defense out the game. I think he's hitting enough of his free throws to where it's not something that teams are going to be going out of their way to do. And then, obviously Dane's got pretty good touch there, and the guards all can shoot as well. So, yeah, I feel good about them at the line this year, which is kind of the opposite of a lot of Memphis teams in the past.
Yeah, that's the big thing is the history of Tiger basketball has been we don't want free throws being shot in key situations. But
we'll make them when we need to.
Yes, that's definitely the truth. Talking to Matt Infield, he joins us to talk Tigers from Action News 5 over on the gridiron. Tiger football, their final regular season game of the year on the road against Tulane on Thanksgiving, and they go out there and they're a 2-touchdown underdog, but they go out there and really dominate Tulane. Tulane had everything in front of them with an opportunity to host the American Athletic Conference Championship, even maybe a chance to get into the college football playoffs. Tigers just were the better team Thursday night.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. It was both awesome to see and in a way frustrating because you think, what if? Like, what if that team had showed up the entire season? What if that was a team that showed up to play Navy? Or what if that was a team that made an appearance in San Antonio a couple weeks back? But all that said, yeah, it was a really fun game to watch. They thoroughly outplayed Tulane for basically the entire game. And, I think that we were reminded, obviously, that, Ryan's brought up a couple times this year the fact that they lost basically a co-starting running back in Sutton Smith in the first quarter of the season. I think we were reminded that them not having Greg DeWoze for whatever it was, 5 or 6 games, that was a pretty significant hit because he was obviously amazing in that game as both a runner, a pass catcher, an ankle breaker, all of the above. Just a great performance by him. You saw flashes. I thought Seth played a clean, solid game. Didn't do anything over the top, but he was pretty good. And then, Mario Anderson, man, you look up, and I said at the start of the season that I thought he'd be really good, but, I thought it would be tough for him to put himself above what Blake Watson did for this offense last year. And obviously 2 totally different players, but you look up now with 1 game left in the regular season, Mario's got, I think, like 36 fewer scrimmage yards than Blake did last year, and he already has more touchdowns than him. So just another incredible ad for the Tigers. In the portal at that running back position. And also a big shout-out, obviously, to Cortland Marsh as well, who made really, I think, the play of the game when Tulane got the ball back and they had momentum and they hit this deep shot, and Cortland Marsh stays at the play, forced the fumble, and grabs the ball so that he has a clear recovery. And after review, that was a huge turnover that I think really quelled the momentum back in the Tigers' favor. So, yeah, just great performance all the way around by them.
Have we figured out yet what Dan Mullen was watching on being so perplexed on that play?
So if you remember, I think the officials were kind of confusing in the way they communicated that, because at first they said it was a catch, but then they said the call stands, and then the Memphis offense was on the field. So I think
running the play.
Yeah, I think it was just the way that the officials communicated, because I was watching at home, and I'm like, why is the call standing, but the Tigers...
Yeah, it was...
because that ball came out probably a half inch before that receiver's knee hit the ground, so, yeah, just a phenomenal play by him.
Yeah, no, it was a really, really nice play. Really kind of was dagger that they needed in that game. I'm curious, you look at this team and you look at, really the starters and the stars on this team. It's a lot of guys that, this is the last year and the last game being the bowl game. Do you think we'll see a lot of guys opting out or entering the transfer portal? I guess more importantly, entering the transfer portal before their bowl game, or do you think we'll see a lot of that after the bowl game?
I think they'll play it out. I'm thinking back to last year, and last year's team had a lot of guys. I think, you were looking at a similar situation, and I think most of them, from what I remember, most of them played out that bowl game. So, yeah, I think that now we're getting to a point where a lot of teams are kind of realizing that it's not a great look to opt out of your bowl game. I think the programs are realizing, I think Deion Sanders made this point the other day. There were a couple teams last year that had a bunch of guys that opted out of the bowl game, and it did not bode well for them this year. Florida State specifically comes to mind. So I think that a lot of Tigers will end up playing that game.
Matt, I know the record sure can be, but just watching week in, week out, season over season, do you think this was Ryan Silverfield's best Tiger team?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think so. I think they're a little better than last year's team. It's kind of tough just because I think we'll have a better answer after the bowl game, just because last year's Tiger team, the signature win was after the Iowa State game. It was after the bowl game, because in the regular season they didn't have a huge signature win. I guess this year on paper you have it in Tulane, but if you could get one more in the bowl over whoever that might be, I think that you kind of cement that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where do you want the Tigers to end up in a bowl game?
I've seen the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa floated against UF, and as someone that went to school in Tampa and may be able to parlay that into a work trip where I could maybe see some of my friends from school, I think that would be cool. And also, obviously, play at SEC school would be a lot of fun as well. So I think that's kind of on my wish list right now.
Yeah, and for the Memphis Tigers to play DJ Lagway, that's going to be kind of the summertime quarterback that gets a lot of publicity heading into the 25 season.
Yeah, I kind of sneakily think I brought this up because I forgot who I was talking to. I think it was someone within the program, because Memphis football's old SID. My guy Scott Burns, he's now the SID for Florida football. We kind of brought up, we were talking about that program and how everyone was calling for Billy Napier's head first month of the season, and I kind of got why, but you got to give him credit because he's kept that team together, and obviously now they have a really talented young quarterback in DJ Lagway, who I think that the Gators are on a pretty nice little upswing and could probably be pretty good next year. So, yeah, I think that if that comes to fruition, I think that'll be a nice test for Memphis.
And Matt, when we're doing all these resumes and all these SEC teams that are whining about being left out and making their case, and I've said it and I felt it and I was there. We all say the Swamp is back. Miami won at the Swamp 41-17.
Yeah, early this season, yeah, for sure. But Rebels did not have as good of a time in the Swamp a couple weeks ago with
sure did not.
Their college football playoff hopes on the line. So, and to be honest, knowing Tampa the way I do, even if Tampa is a little 2-hour trip from Gatesville, if it is Tigers, Gators in the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa, that would very much be a home game vibe for Florida. So, and to be fair, Memphis had that in a way last year, although the Iowa State fans did show up pretty nicely. But yeah, that would be a pretty good challenge for sure.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one. I would be definitely down for that. Well, as always, Matt, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, guys, appreciate it. Talk next week, all right?
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Matt Infield joining us, talking from Action News 5.
We just kind of conveniently forget about opening day when Miami won by 24 at the now back Swamp.
It was a big win. I mean,
guess it wasn't back yet then, huh?
That's right. It took, all the way until the last 3 weeks of the season to be back.
Well, you could say till they played LSU and Ole Miss, Miami won by 24.
They did. That was a huge win. And, that was kind of the win of, man, we thought maybe Florida would, because I remember the conversations, and it was, we thought Florida would be competitive, but they just have a really tough schedule this year, and they weren't competitive at all in that game.
They weren't close.
And Miami
that score was bigger than that.
Oh, it was, I mean, that game was over in the first quarter. They just absolutely rolled them. And so, yeah, that's a really good point to bring up with a big win for Miami in the Swamp. And I'd love that. I'd love a matchup between Memphis and Florida. That'd be a really fun ball game. But let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, we'll talk some college basketball. Really good slate of games tonight. Not a ton last night, but we do have some news, a lot of injuries coming out of the world of college basketball. We'll talk all of that next on Sports Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, it's happy hour from 3 to 6. $1 off all draft meals, $5 off meal drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and mozzarella sticks, queso, $4 a day. Friday night lights from 7 to 11. Dine in and watch Will Wednesday night. Free on watch college football and every pro game. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland. Highway 70, fall is
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check that your seats aren't in the visitor section first before buying tickets.
I'm so excited for this game. I can't believe we got us tickets. Me too.
Yeah, check them first this time. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
This is going to be a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
There's no distance more beautiful, more versatile, and more meaningful. So join me in there's no season in Jason's time. Most impressive selection of can't-miss gifts. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands, tasting and price range. From diamond classics to amazing discount fashion. Rolex watches has never been better. And just for December, we're offering 5 years, 0 interest financing on any overnight purchase. With a special offer, everything's affordable. Just pick any item, divide the price by 60, and that's your payment. So come to Genesis Diamonds. Our experts help you choose the perfect headliner gift present. And spread your payments over 5 years. Get holiday store hours, directions, and finance details at genesisdiamonds.com. Happy holidays with Genesis Diamonds.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 This hour is brought to you by Lexus Cars. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
Well, a really good week we're about to have with college basketball, including the Tigers back at home tomorrow night at FedEx Forum against La Tech. But we're getting into challenge season. Right after Feast Week comes challenge season. You got the Big 12, Big East battle starting, SEC, ACC challenge beginning tonight as well. So a lot of good. We even have conference games tonight. A lot of really good basketball. Reminder, tonight we'll have Ole Miss basketball. They're on the road against Louisville. Pregame will start at 7:30 tonight for an 8 p.m. start. I believe television, that game's on ACC Network tonight with Louisville hosting it. But a really good slate starting tonight and really going into a big night tomorrow night.
And a big injury for Louisville with the transfer from South Florida. Kasim Pryor out for the year, really good player. Ole Miss lost a heartbreaker at the buzzer on Friday. We're wrapping up post game right when it was kind of going down against Purdue. Purdue is not that indifferent than last year's Purdue team.
Yeah, no, I mean they've got a good team, and they brought some guys back from that group last year. Obviously, did not bring back
a real big name
back player of the year. We know where he's at, but no, they brought back some good shooters, some good guards, and really they had a good lead late in the second half of that game against Ole Miss. Ole Miss makes a big push late in that second half and ends up coming down tied game and just didn't box out, and Purdue gets an offensive rebound, put back, and ends up winning the game in the last seconds.
Missed the shot so badly that it just kind of clanked into the hands and up and in about the time the horn didn't go off. They had a heave after out of bounds play. But a good win for Ole Miss against BYU. Tonight, Miami hosts Arkansas. Georgia hosts Notre Dame. Mizzou hosts California. Boston College hosts South Carolina. Tennessee hosts Syracuse. Oklahoma hosting Georgia Tech. Wake Forest at A&M. Ole Miss in Louisville against U of L. And FSU against LSU. What's the best matchup of the night?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, we've just got so many good games tonight with these challenges. I would probably say the best matchup for my money might be either. I really am excited for this Ole Miss Louisville game. Now, you mentioned it. Kasim Pryor being out definitely hurts Louisville. He's been massive for them. But maybe Kentucky on the road against Clemson. That might be the best game of the night in terms of these challenges.
That's a narrow point spread.
Yeah. Right now, Kentucky a 1.5 point road favorite. Be tough.
I'm trying to find. That's tomorrow night, isn't it?
No, Kentucky and Clemson. That's tonight.
Yep, tonight 8:30.
How come I can't find it on my schedule?
I don't know. It's
it's on the ESPN 8:30.
Okay.
Yeah, 8:30. Late game. I'll be watching that. I don't know who. I probably won't bet on that game.
Brian, how you feeling about the Qs and the orange?
Yeah, I mean
the orange versus the orange.
I haven't watched much Syracuse this year, but I like Tennessee. I think they got a good team, so
they're like 15-point favorites.
Are they? Well, that would explain why I probably haven't.
No,
watched much of the
bigger
Qs
than
tonight.
that. I'm sorry, 22.5.
Wow, how about that?
Over the Qs.
Wow, not your father's Syracuse team.
No, and speaking of fathers, Carmelo's son actually committed. He committed to Syracuse.
So it might be your father's Syracuse
and without
team.
Boeheim, that was the big shock. I thought Boeheim was the glue, to that. So of course he's following his dad's footsteps.
Love it.
Always helps to scroll to the bottom of the page for the full night schedule.
Well, I mean,
It was that. You know what, Brett? It is down at the very bottom.
It was down there at the very bottom.
It happens.
I think that I'm with you. I think that is Wake Forest at A&M.
Be a good game.
Interesting.
That'd be a good game. Wake Forest is good. I watched them a little bit last. They were at the Battle for Atlantis last week, and I think I forgot where they were, but I watched one of their. They were at the ESPN Invitational, and they have a good team. They've got the kid from Gonzaga that was really big for them last year, Hunter Salas. He's back, and he's a really good player. So yeah, that'll be a good game tonight.
And Arkansas, the two losses, but in any win, I don't know if they've been that challenged.
Who's that again?
For Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah. I mean, Arkansas, still kind of wait and see with them. I do not like this Miami team. They're 3-4 now, but on the road, at Miami could be tough. But Arkansas, I'm still kind of waiting and seeing how.
Razorbacks were never in the game Thanksgiving afternoon against Illinois.
No. In Illinois, that's really the first time I've been really impressed with them, and not really impressed with what I saw from Arkansas in that game, but.
It's a typical Cal team. Young, they'll get going.
But Arkansas really not challenged.
Well, will they, Darian? We hear that for Cal. We hear that from Cal every year. Wait till March, and we get to March, and they lose to St. Benedict Leo.
Oh, that money he got, Brett. He better cash in. He better cash in.
Yeah. Speaking of whatever team you said he loses to in March, he sees Oakland here in a couple weeks. How about that?
Yes.
The dreaded Oakland back in the
Is the 84-year-old player still in Oakland?
Yes, the 92-year-old player. He's back for a fifth year. Gets older.
Not going to make a major deal out of it tomorrow night. In fact, this is going to be the only time I mention it all week. After what the Tigers did last week, tomorrow night, shouldn't it be the biggest crowd so far this year at the at that game.
Yes, sir. Certainly not what we saw at the beginning of the season.
Right.
That Missouri game was, I told you, I was scared when they started doing the name introductions, and it was like 25% full.
Yeah.
It was like, come
you
on.
were texting me.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. This is,
You were at the game?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It should pick, I know Wednesday night. I know it's cold, but I also know the energy from last week from this team.
That energy should carry over. I mean, Brett, you talk about all the time. I mean, winning is the best marketing tool. I mean, it works wonders when the team's winning, when the team skyrockets into the top 25. I mean, that should result in people being exciting, people wanting to go see
I'm
the
talking
team
about
play.
when we know there are people there. I'm not talking about any janky skank.
Yeah. Seeing the butts in the seat. I think it should be.
Brian,
reflective.
have you checked out Lenardi today?
I know. Again, let me be very clear.
Check
I have
that
not
Lenardi?
looked at the bracket.
You want me to give it to
I
you?
know he has the Tigers as a 4 seed.
He's
Come
there.
on.
Playing Kent State. I saw
Absolutely.
Jason Munn's tweet that earlier, but I
4
have not
seed's great
looked at
spot.
the bracket.
They are a 4 seed.
Who
yes,
would
sir.
they play if they won that game? Like
So
what is
they
the-
have them 4 versus 13. Kent
Okay.
State in Indianapolis. They have them in the Midwest.
and who
With the
would-
winner probably getting Wisconsin.
Is that what it was?
And the winner gets Wisconsin or UC
Bring it
Irvine.
on.
Or UC Irvine. But
Bring
yeah.
it on.
team,
Take
UC
that.
Irvine,
Take
playing
that
well.
draw right now.
But I think
12 from the SEC. No way that happens.
But I think I brought that up to say I think the Tigers are in a good spot. I mean, they need
Real
to
good.
keep moving
They're in a
up.
good spot,
And
yeah.
the
Real
South
good.
and Atlanta, I think they'd rather be in Atlanta
Certainly.
than Indianapolis.
100%. I'd take Atlanta.
Absolutely.
Yesterday.
Sure would.
I mean, I would love
4
to
seed
get
in
out
Atlanta right now is Houston and dropping.
Well, I don't know if I want to play Houston. I don't know. I mean,
No, I'm just saying being the 4 seed. If you
Oh,
were to
I see,
if you
I
were to
see, I
flip flop,
see.
the 4 seed right now in the South is Houston.
Okay, interesting. So, yeah, they're in a really good spot right now, and we'll see what they can do tomorrow night. We'll definitely talk more about that game tomorrow. We'll also have to do Tiger Bankroll for that game tomorrow.
I took my
against
first
Las
L
Vegas.
last week, man.
Right.
$50.
Yeah, well, hey, it's okay. It's okay.
I know it wasn't 100, right?
Game 3. Well,
I
that's
know
true.
somebody who plays with a $100 bet.
Well, it's game 3 and day 3, Darren. Nothing to feel bad about taking that loss. Was that your first loss of the season?
Yep, it actually was. Yep.
Holy cow. All right, good picking, I guess. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this hour, and when we come back, talking some college football with Brent Beard.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes, or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
What happens when former real estate agents want to sell their homes? This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Bensdorf Realtors. I am so proud and feel so honored when former real estate agents contact me when they want to sell their homes or someone has called them asking whom they should use. They know that I've been in the business for quite a while, have a great deal of experience, and know that I'm good at marketing and I'm part of a nationwide relocation network. Over the years, I've developed a highly successful strategic marketing program that can make the difference in what you make and when. Thinking of selling? Talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Remember what people often say, that when you want the job done, call Shell done. So if you or someone you know is thinking of selling, Remember what other former real estate agents do. They call me at 483-0546 or email me at memphisrelocate.com. It's Shell Dunn Rosengarten at memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546.
56 WHBQ Memphis and W253 DF Memphis with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Trying to clear a wreck over here on 40 westbound. It's going to be right near that 240 flyover. A little bit of rubbernecking going on. This is a real popular spot where they crash during morning rush hour on 40 westbound. Over here around the 240 flyover. It's trying to build already out of the Midtown area. Just in the last few minutes with some volume on 240 southbound coming past South Parkway. Shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
College football talk every Tuesday with Brent Beer, Heisman voter, and on Twitter at Brent Beer. SEC, ACC, AAC, we talk it all with Brent. Here's Brent Beer with Brian and Brent.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brent Beer joins us now to talk some college football from First Coast News in Jacksonville. And a lot to get to as it's finally championship weekend. We'll get the final college football playoff rankings tonight, and then we'll get the official release on Sunday. So next time we talk to Brent, we will know what the college football playoffs will look like. But Brent, thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get to, but let's start with the SEC and some of those games from last week, rivalry week. What kind of stood out to you with all the action in the SEC?
You mean after all the fights?
or before or after, whenever the actual football was taking place?
Yeah. There were some interesting things going on. Alabama-Auburn was certainly competitive. Not surprised that Bama was able to win. They kind of stayed within themselves. Arkansas-Missouri was a microcosm of both their seasons in the snow. Both of them had a chance to win the game at the end, just could not quite do it. The Gators continue to virtually improve every game. You see it in the recruiting rankings, too. Georgia Tech was just unbelievable. Really feel for Mark Stoops and the year that it's been for them. Awful performance against Louisville. LSU beats Oklahoma. Tennessee wins over a game Vanderbilt team. Ole Miss does too. South Carolina continues to be really good. So it was and obviously Texas, and it really, that defensive line is just hard to beat the Longhorns right now. What a game coming up this weekend. So it was last week was indicative of the whole season, a wild ride that's been a lot of fun.
Brent, I know you remember this. I remember the time, I think Lou Holtz was still at South Carolina, and South Carolina and Clemson had a Donnybrook post-game and really got after it.
Yes.
And South Carolina self-imposed a bowl ban as their penalty. Do you remember that year?
I remember that year well, and how distraught Holtz was after the game and the days afterwards.
And he was truly sick over it. There was a point Saturday when they couldn't get Michigan and Ohio State broken up, and then they go full pepper spray and all that went with that. There was a point where I thought, Ohio State, be really careful. You could keep fighting today, and somebody suggest the penalty should be not going to the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, look, this fighting stuff has got to end in these rivalry games. The reality is these rivalry games for the underdog is one of the first time in maybe weeks that they're motivated and focused on being able to play. I heard someone make a good point. what usually happens with this after the game is somebody wants to plant the flag in midfield of their opponent. Is there any way, guys, we could confiscate the flags at some point in the second half? So that was not allowed. I know in one game the police just kind of formed a line alone to keep them separated. This stuff, guys, someone's going to get hurt, and it's going to be someone that's not wearing padding and a helmet.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's almost like trying to stop the field rushing, and this year was it was just epidemic of field rushing across college football, because I think one sees it over there, and then we want to do it over here, and I think it's the same thing in the flag planting. You see one get so offended by it, we're not going to allow that to happen.
Right.
Brent, here's my theory on the flag planting, or the fighting, rather, on the fighting. I think we've always had a lot of stuff around these games.
Sure.
I think we just see it all now. Used to, we'd hear about it, maybe read about it. It's a little bit like every bad hurricane now. We've had bad hurricanes and bad weather for hundreds of years. We just now instantly see Jim Cantore reporting from it.
And TV wants to make a big deal out of it. I'm wondering, guys, too. Now, this stuff just doesn't happen in rivalry games. I think this stuff builds for a while. Somebody made the point, it's a good one. These kids have known each other in, Pee-wee football, in 7-on-7, in high school, and, you just kind of wonder if some of that feeds us a little bit, too.
Well, even more than that, you got a guy now that may be the star player that was with you a year ago.
Sure. Well, that's a really good point. Also, now, Brett and I have seen this in some ways, but I'm curious what's going to happen. Brent, will there be some kind, and it may be in the spring meetings, or is there going to be some kind of either a fine or just a...
how many more fines can we have? We got fines now for field rushing, and that stopped nobody when people are ready to do it. And how do you, so let's say at the spring meetings down in Destin, we dedicate a whole bunch of time to flag planting and say, we're not going to do it, we're not going to participate in it, we're not going to allow it. Well, how does that stop anything in Florida and FSU? Because that's not a conference game.
No.
Has it stopped at Louisville and Kentucky? Has it stopped it in Clemson and South Carolina?
Well, it really doesn't stop any of it. I'm really just curious what, and it will probably be a lot of rhetoric, but are we going to hear from the commissioners on this at some point when the dust settles?
Well, we hear from them about everything, and how much does it really resonate?
Not much. It really doesn't. But
please stop the bad behavior.
The thing that really probably needs to happen in these games is, look, when the clocks all hit zero, everybody, both teams, they're in their respective dressing rooms and clear the field.
Especially the loser.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You head straight to the locker room with your head down.
Yeah. So, and if they were able to do that somehow, that might minimize some of it.
All right, so the whole controversy that's going to come out of tonight is really going to be settled Sunday morning. Let's say that Clemson wins and it creates a spot either for Miami and SMU's in. It creates a spot for Miami or one of the three SEC teams. Who do you take?
I wish I knew the criteria of what they're going to do. Is it going
It's
to be
your criteria. Who do you take?
The better record, or is it going to be...
It's however you want to do it. Who do you take of those four? Miami, Alabama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina?
I would almost say South Carolina because they're playing because they're so hot right now, but anybody I give you is going to, the other teams are going to have an argument. Bama beat them. Ole Miss and Clemson are going to have an argument too. So I mean that
Clemson will be in because they would be champions of the ACC.
Right, if they win, yeah. So I don't know that will have the biggest amount of people hanging on to see where that's going, because whatever position they're going to be in, because these other teams are basically the three SEC teams, they aren't playing. That's pretty much the way it's going to be.
We know throughout the history of sport, whatever sport it is, almost always the first tiebreaker is head-to-head.
Yes. Well, but is that going to be it, or are they going to be head-to-head is a part of it, but we're also looking at strength of schedule and strength of record, and this is why we made the decision.
Mm-hmm. Do you think in his position on the committee, Hunter Yurchek, SEC representative, that's why he's there. He's not there representing the Big Sky. He's not there representing the MAAC. Should he be advocating for someone from the SEC inside that room?
I think he probably should. Now, is he going to say, well, I had to excuse myself with this, but I would guess if they're meeting today that he has been advocating, I would think, throughout the day.
And the comeback to I've got to excuse myself, well, then there's no need for the SEC or the Big Ten to have a representative there because they're always going to be in the mix and always being discussed. And if you have to step out every time that subject matter comes up, they might as well be driving for the local Uber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean that's basically their job until we change the criteria of the committee.
And I'm also getting this from some about inside the room for Hunter Yurchek is that he doesn't have that much clout. Nobody's buying that. You're the SEC representative. That's like saying Roger Goodell has no clout over the NFL.
Well, you can't be representing the SEC and be quiet in a committee like that.
And if you are, you're the door jam. You need to go home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, agree totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some people try to bring up the argument that if SMU loses, that there should be a conversation then about SMU not being in the college football playoff. Brett and I talked about it earlier. I think we both agree.
SMU's in.
SMU should be in. Do you think I'm sure there are going to be those three SEC teams trying to make the argument, but will there be any real argument about SMU not getting in if they lose in the conference championship?
I mean, when you're at 9, if you're the truth of the matter is, how far are they going to fall? I mean, I don't think they're going to. I don't really think they're going to fall that far, are they?
No.
And how much can Sunday change from tonight?
Yeah.
It can't be much unless there's something incredibly unusual happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what in the world that would be.
And it could be injury.
Yeah, it could. Yeah. Yeah,
like
that would be that'd be the biggest thing that would cause it. But I mean, for most of this team, what would the injury be? Would they if they took their girlfriend skating and they twist an ankle or something like that, maybe. But since so many of them won't be playing. So
I was thinking more injury of a participant this weekend, but George is in. We know that, right? Georgia or Texas, they're in.
Yes, Tennessee's in. I think
Tennessee's sitting pretty.
They really are.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're just wondering whether it's at Neyland or they go on the road.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good position to be in.
Has Danny White delivered at Tennessee, Brent?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Baseball, football, and basketball.
I mean, they got it going.
Yeah.
Yeah. They really do.
And it was in the wilderness leadership wise. Chancellor, AD. I mean, Tennessee. It was messy for a long time.
I tell you what, you can make an argument down here that University of Florida is doing a lot better. They've got an undefeated basketball team. They've actually got a football team that's going to a bowl game, and where they are recruiting over the last month has been, frankly, remarkable. They're expected to have.
They keep the basketball coach off the text messaging.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We haven't heard any more on that. I mean, he's still coaching. They're playing Virginia at home tomorrow night, undefeated.
Yeah. They're standing by him.
Yeah, they are. So I mean, look, in this day of litigation, that can't be happening unless the university knows more than anybody wants to say right now.
Yeah.
Brent, this year in the SEC, who do you think should be first team SEC quarterback?
Well, I would have said back earlier Georgia, but I don't think that's the case now. And he's played better along the line. I mean, when he's healthy, you could say Ewers. I don't think Nico is there yet. Certainly, it's not. I mean, I still probably might go with Dart. I mean, when you and I know it's not just 1 year, but when you've broken records like he has, and they played well. I mean, the guy who's really obviously come on would be the South Carolina situation with the Norris Sellers, and how well he's played. I'm not quite, is he the complete quarterback at this point? I would almost say Dart and Sellers right now may be doing as well as anybody is.
I think I would too, and I would go with Dart. But, Brian, I know I said this in the run-up to college football. If Ole Miss was going to have that year of years, I thought Dart's touchdown to interception ratio, the first number's got to be a 3, 30 or up, and the interception number has to be around 5, 6, or 7. Well, this is how it ended. And a great year. Unbelievable competitor. 38-75 in yards, almost 4,000 in yards, 25 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. And I think that is illustrative of the rest of the year for Ole Miss and for the league. It was really, really good. It wasn't vintage. It wasn't off the charts.
Right. I agree. Listen, if you're looking for the toughest quarterback in the league, that had to be Brady Cook. Of Missouri and what he's done with them,
could be.
And going to the hospital and coming back and winning. I mean, I give them credit. I mean that they've had a fine year, and it could have been a really superlative year if some things had fallen right. But their schedule did not help them earlier in the year get ready for the SEC.
I had a fan of another team other than Mizzou talking about Missouri, and he said nobody can stand Eli Drinkwitz. I said, Missouri fans can. They love him. He's won 20 games the last 2 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, if you're Mizzou and you won 20 double-digit games in 2 years in a row, you can overlook some quirks.
For Clemson, are we have we hit the end of the Dabo run?
I don't think so. I still think he's got something there. I mean, he's still young enough. He still relates to his players. I still think if he would give in a little bit, and again, we talked this for a while, he doesn't have to get 20 in the portal, but if you got half a dozen, that would probably make a big difference. So I would say he's at least got 2 or 3 good years in him. I think my question there would be, how loyal is Dabo, guys, to Clemson? If he feels he's hit the wall, they're not listening to him anymore. Yeah. Would Dabo go somewhere else?
It's a good question. I don't don't know. I mean, change scenery.
Getting later in a
sometimes.
career to want to move, but Brian Kelly did it.
He did.
Sure did.
Yeah, that would that'd be wild if he left Clemson to go somewhere else.
Well, it would be, but I can tell you this, Brian. Now it may be a little bit of a step down from Clemson, frankly, but there are a lot of ADs who'd love to have him.
Oh yeah.
I think he gets hired really fast to run a program. Just how much he would have left in the Iron Bowl world. Alabama wins. They double up Auburn. Auburn was playing for a bowl in year 2. After year 2 for Hugh Freeze, it hadn't been much.
No, it really hasn't, and they continue to struggle. And again, and please. Just tell me what I'm missing here, but when you've got one of the better running backs in the league, along with Dylan Sampson at Tennessee and Jarquez Hunter, and you kick field goal at basically the 2-yard line instead of trying to run him, I don't get that, guys. I really don't.
Brian asked that yesterday.
Run the dang ball.
I mean, they've thrown the ball basically, like 40 times and ran it 25. The only way they're going to win is if they reverse those numbers for run and pass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at it. I mean, the games that they won, you can look at the box score, and Jarquez Hunter had great games. I just don't know why he's been so against. Just
he had 13 carries Saturday. They only had 23 rushes, and 10 of them were Peyton Thorne.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, look, when you're giving Peyton Thorne that many carries, I know if he's got a wide open field, I get it. But when you've got a guy like Hunter, you really wasted his talent with that too. So, and by the way, guys, with our proximity down here, the FSU rebuild has already begun with some, what I would say, curious hires on that coaching staff.
I would too. We touched on that. 23 carries, 10 of them Peyton Thorne, 13 Jarquez Hunter, and Alabama has 4 turnovers and still wins, doubling you up.
Yeah. They and frankly, if Ryan Williams drop a easy touchdown in the end zone, they win by 21 points.
So is Kalen DeBoer's first year, is it totally going to be judged by Sunday morning's bracket reveal?
Oh, jeez.
He won more games than any first-year coach, so that will be appreciated. But I think there are a lot of people who are going to say that he had more talent on that team than what they really utilized. It was a good year. Was it what the fans wanted? No, and particularly in that they could have beat Tennessee. Vanderbilt game was, and frankly, they just weren't. They weren't prepared for Oklahoma and Vanderbilt with that. But and he certainly could enhance it if they're able to get in and be able to win a game. But
that would fix it all. Get in and win a game. Then how you finish.
But it is, and that's kind of what you're seeing with Florida. But look, to the point too is what people are also going to say. Well, if you win one of those 3 games you lost, you would take it out of the committee's hands, and you'd likely be in
and hosting.
So, or hosting, absolutely.
Yeah. Last thing for you, Brent. I'm curious, kind of going back to the ACC for a second. We talked about Miami, and now kind of up in the air. What happens with them? Do they get in? Do they not get in? And all of this happened because they lost to Syracuse. Fran Brown, his first year as the head coach for Syracuse. What do you make of his first year there? They get the signature win over Miami, another win early in the season against a really good UNLV team, Group of 5 team, but still a really good team on the road. What did you make of year 1 for him?
A good year, frankly. I mean, a lot of people, I know Kirby was really complimentary of him the other day because he was on the Georgia staff. But I would say Syracuse and Georgia Tech, both the teams really made progress this year. Nice year for Duke. You had to give them credit for that. And we got to give Miami credit, but I'm just telling you guys, and we say this every year, frankly, about Mario, Cristobal is, it's usually a good year, but they're just, one or two unexplainable, inexplicable, mysterious losses during the year, as you saw against Georgia Tech and also Syracuse, and guys, as you remember, they could have lost at least one more on that Hail Mary with Virginia Tech.
And I think Sunday morning will really establish whether or not the U is back. If they're not in that bracket, you can tell Michael Irvin you're back?
No, they're not going to believe it. Look, guys
You can tell
like
Jeremy
that,
Shockey we're back by going to the Gasparilla Bowl?
Yeah, guys like that, until they see rings on your finger, they don't want to hear any "Are you back?" talk.
How do you think it would have gone over with Jimmy Johnson and his team if somebody said, "No, please don't plant your flag on our field. Play nice."
Yeah, really. Yeah, Jimmy. Boy, that would have been quotes for the media that they
would have planted their head at midfield.
They really would have.
Yeah, that would
absolutely no doubt about
okay,
that.
no flag. We'll knock your head off.
And listen, we have, and with everything we've talked about today, we've still got the National Signing Day this week to go along with everything else that is happening right now. So it is, and coaches getting hired and fired. So what a time of year! It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Tomorrow is the day where every high school lineman runs a 4.40.
Right.
Well,
and there's never been one at the combine.
And every one of them have got unlimited potential, don't they, guys?
Oh man, you ought to see his feet.
Just wait. Brent, as always, thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again next week.
Good. Enjoy it, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Brent. Brent Beard with us talking college football from First Coast News down in Jacksonville. All our guests come and join us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. And now with the holiday season here, and I know how much Brent loves this, how much he loves Jason's Deli. Look, everybody's trying to think of the exact perfect office event, neighborhood event, holiday get-together. Let Jason's Deli. You step aside, let Jason's Deli step in, and they have you covered for every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, low delivery fees, same-day, last-minute orders welcome. That's when they excel, when you don't feel like you've got everything just right. Professional setup with delivery by their delivery drivers who all have food handling permits. Whether you're dining in, getting it to go, having it delivered, having it catered, wholesome food forever, it's a family thing at Jason's Deli with over 200 Memphis area associates for every meal, like at breakfast, that Sunshine breakfast box, at lunchtime, the pasta feast, at dinner time, the Plain Jane potato bar, all the food so good and so good for you. First franchise in the nation to be trans fat free. And at Jason's Deli, it's all about choice at whatever location you go to, over across from MUS at Park Place on Ridgeway, by the University of Memphis at Poplar and Highland, down in Olive Branch, out in Cordova. All these great locations where it's all about choice. Whether you seek a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids meals, you'll be delighted at Jason's Deli. Plenty of organic to choose from, and in all those locations you can count on that great salad bar with over 30 items on the salad bar for you to prepare it however you like. Off the menu, you can order the Mesa chicken salad, the chicken club salad, my favorite, the taco salad, and we are officially into chili season with it being this cold, and in every location at Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova, the complimentary free ice cream. Check them out online as well at jasonsdeli.com.
Let's get to another break. When we come back, the Grizzlies, they're back in action again tonight, and a little bit of a change from what's been going on recently. They're on the road tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that game tonight, if they can keep this win streak up. That's next on Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
This one, like the fun that comes from a quick and nimble 2024 Honda CB500F. This amazing style streetlights to narrow 471cc twin, along with a sleek TFT display, dual disc front brakes, and standard ABS. All right at full price. Find fun in all-wearing Lexus 2024 Honda CB500F. Available at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Wheeler Road, Olive Branch.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Felix Cavalieri, founding member of the Rascals, will be performing with Six Water. This year's AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and we want to be there too. We'll hear all the iconic hits at the President's Day on December 26th in Lehigh, and at halftime, 66 AutoZone Liberty Bowl on December 27th. Get your tickets today by calling the AutoZone Liberty Bowl at 795-7700. The Tennessee Highway Safety Office reminds you that fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Still trying to clean up a couple of wrecks we had earlier out here, including that 140 westbound near that 240 flyover. It's building pretty good now out of the Midtown area. Here comes that traffic southbound on 240 passing Lamar all the way down to Norris. As you continue south of Memphis, that's on the increase, more so in just the last few minutes on 55 coming past State Line Road, on 55 South headed down through South Haven. Shop now and save during this holiday season. Where? Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian and Brett with you, and tonight the Grizzlies back in action on the road against the Dallas Mavericks. It's an NBA Cup game, but for the Grizzlies, it will be their first road game in the last 5 games. They've been with that 4-game home stand last week, and they were very successful. They're on a 6-game win streak now, playing really well. The team is getting back healthy, especially with Ja Morant back out there on the court. But this will be a test tonight against a team that just last season was in the NBA Finals. This Mavericks team has played well this year.
It is game 22 of 82. Don't want to make too much of it, but kind of feels like the biggest game so far of a very young year. And win or lose, it'll be, it'll have to get forgotten pretty quickly before being back at FedEx Forum on Thursday night against Sacramento. This year, the Mavs, Dallas, they're 9-6 against Western Conference opponents. The Grizzlies are 6-4. I don't know if this is a seed line game come middle to late April, but it could be if you can get this one on the road. That's really big.
Yeah, no, it'd be huge, and I think you see the way the Grizzlies have been playing recently, and I think you look at the last time that they were really on the road against kind of a team like this would probably be back against the Lakers, and then that next game against the Warriors. Talking about a team that will be in the mix for being in the Western Conference playoffs. So, yeah, this is a big game. This is a team where they've got superstar-level players out there that you're going to see. I think it's an important game. I think it's a big one. Now, again, it's a game on December 3rd. How much is it really going to mean at the end of the season? But I think for right now, if you can win tonight and now it's a 7-game win streak, you're coming back home to play a Sacramento team that is talented but has struggled to start this season, I think you're feeling really good.
Really good. That's going to be fun. 3 nights in a row, really, of Memphis-centric basketball. Tonight, the Grizzlies. Tomorrow night, the Tigers at home. Thursday night, the Grizzlies at FedEx Forum.
It's been a good last 2 weeks. If you're just a Memphis sports fan, we talked about it last week because the Tigers are playing in Maui, and then Tiger football playing on Thanksgiving, and then with the Grizzlies, you had every single day at least one Memphis team playing, except for Saturday. And Saturday was a big day in itself, so it didn't really matter. But every other day, you had either the Memphis Tiger basketball team player, Tiger football playing, or Grizzlies playing. And now this week, to start the week, you get, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all involving something. And so, it's fun.
We ask it a bunch kind of leading up to this 4-game or the last 4 games and in the best stretch for the Grizzlies. after 21 games, going into game number 22, I guarantee you I would have taken 14-7.
1,000%.
And after 22, I would have taken 14-8.
Yeah.
But now I want 15-7.
Yeah, I mean, they've played well, and you look at the schedule, and I mean, I remember back when beginning of the season when it was okay, you won a really close one opening night, and then you lost against Houston, you beat Orlando, and then you dropped back-to-back games against Chicago and Brooklyn, and you're going, okay, well, these are not games you want to lose, certainly not against Brooklyn, but you see what they've done since then, and after that, still very early in the season, but the only time you've lost back-to-back games since then was, on the road against the Lakers and Golden State. It's been a lot of winning since really early in the season in late October, and hopefully you can continue that going. Now, you're going to hit some rough patches. That's a given, but so far it's been really, really good start to the season.
Here's the premise. Everybody's healthy on both sides. Both rosters are healthy, okay? Mm-hmm. We're not. I know Kyrie Irving's out tonight, isn't he?
I don't know. He's not on the ESPN report, but I thought somebody was out tonight.
I know Klay Thompson's out tonight.
Klay Thompson's out tonight, yes.
All right, but let's say everybody's healthy. Which roster would you rather have? And that's hard for us since we're so familiar. I know Luka. I know Kyrie Irving. I know that.
Yeah.
But I think A to Z, the Grizzlies roster is preferable.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, with DeMichael yesterday about just how deep this team is, right? I mean, right now you've got Zach Edey, who is a 10 overall pick. He was your first-round pick last year. Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams that were so good last year, they're injured right now. And then you look at what the bench is giving you right now, some of the guys you're getting off the bench, that starting lineup, this feels like top to bottom one of the deepest teams in the NBA. And so I think saying that, yeah, you would probably take the Grizzlies, at least lean the Grizzlies, but then on the other side with the Mavericks, when you've got two just can't miss stars of Luka and Kyrie, and then some really good supporting characters, it's a good question. I'd probably
you get down there at Gafford,
Grizzlies,
PJ Washington. I know Grimes, Lively.
Yeah, I like those players a lot.
I do too.
I think it's a good discussion.
You know I love Gafford.
Yeah.
I've had him in every trade deal ever.
I love
for
it.
the Grizzlies.
I love it. Everyone has that one player that it's we can go get him. We can get him every time. And that's,
we used to have a texter. The answer to everything was Malik Monk.
Really?
Had to be somebody. Over around Lepanto that knew him growing up.
For sure. I mean, hey, he's cashed in with the Kings.
Hadn't he?
He's been really good for the Kings.
I hope that person and Malik Monk both will be here Thursday night.
I hope so. That'll be a fun game because Sacramento, I know we'll talk more about it when we get closer to that game on Thursday.
There's a great roster question.
But that's a good roster question, but it's a question where really Sacramento to this point this year hasn't played great. They've kind of struggled to start the season, but that roster is very talented. We've seen what they've done the last two seasons.
Yeah, and these standings in the West, we're just so used to it. I in my not top story talking about the 3-seed Grizzlies, one game in front of the 5-seed Dallas. That changes tonight with a Mavericks win.
Yeah, I mean we're still so early in the season where one night of games changes the standings very.
That's how big this one is. This is the biggest game of the year so far.
Yeah, no, it's big for a lot of different reasons. And so, it's going to be fun. I think there's going to be, energy around it. And, unfortunately, because of what fandom is, I think there's going to be some overreactions both ways. If the Grizzlies win tonight and if the Grizzlies lose tonight.
Last Wednesday night when the Mavericks were at home the night before Thanksgiving, did you see Tom Brady there courtside at the Mavs game?
No.
Because he was there to do the Fox game on Thursday, on Thanksgiving afternoon.
Yeah, I missed that. Wow.
Great seats.
TV 12.
Front row.
Well, yeah. Get a lot of airtime. So, it's good.
He got it.
Well, it's good.
I guess he doesn't get enough otherwise.
Well, yes, no. Tom Brady, a very shy guy. Doesn't like to be in front of cameras. But
that's one I miss badly on way back when. What would it be like? Because he mercurial. I will put it in his career during his career, and I thought post football. Now I thought it would be with Giselle. I mean, go off to to bed and hide.
And never hear from him again.
And
but
neither of those things happened.
No.
Didn't hide with Giselle.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't be any more opposite. But no, I mean, good for him. He's doing his thing with Fox, and I hear both sides. I hear a lot of people that aren't fans of his coverage, and I hear some people who are fans of it. So
I don't mind it. I listen. I don't hear anything that distinguishing, but I don't hear anything bad.
Sure. It's just kind of, Is it kind of like you would expect more from Tom Brady, though? Because that's kind of what I get from people. See, I don't listen to it much.
Because the bar is so high for anything he's ever done.
Yeah, but, because that's why I hear is it's Tom Brady. He's the greatest quarterback to play the game. I expect him to really be breaking it down and explaining things to me that I would never think about, and he's just not doing that.
Of the two, I think Kevin Burkhardt has really shined through.
Yeah,
is just how great he is.
Yeah, he's been really good. But again, I haven't seen much of Tom Brady or heard.
Early in the year, I couldn't tell the difference between Greg Olsen and Tom Brady's voices.
Okay. I'm glad you said that, Brett, because I had the exact same thing happen to me on Thanksgiving, on Thursday when I was watching the Cowboys game. Because usually I'm either up here working or I'm watching NFL with the sound off because there's a lot of games going. So I haven't seen Tom Brady, or I haven't heard Tom Brady this season. But Thanksgiving, I'm sitting at my house watching the game, and I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, I didn't know Greg Olsen was doing this game. And then they went to like a shot of them, and I was like,
and that was Burkhardt's old partner.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I think it has confused people.
It confused me on Thursday. I completely forgot about that, but you're right. So, hey.
Well, you Cowboys look good Thursday.
Yeah, against the Giants. I mean,
you think they can get hot?
Well, I don't want to have this conversation. I mean, I'm already going to get it in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes when we're talking about.
We're not gonna do you like that.
I know we're going to get like 15 minutes in, and we're going to go, well, Brian, we haven't asked about the Cowboys yet.
No, we're
Let's
not
talk about the Cowboys.
We're not going to do that to you.
I don't want to. I already got it from Norris up here at the station. I come in Monday, and he goes, well, why aren't you wearing your Cowboy stuff today? I was like, please, it was Thursday.
Our friend Norris almost jumps teams more than I do.
He has a big selection of gear for different teams.
But, we all can't be Lions fans like me.
Yeah, no, lifetime Lions fans. Claim our
lifetime
Lions.
8 weeks, yeah.
That's right, yes. If a lifetime,
of 8 weeks.
was 8 weeks, you would be a lifetime Lions fan. But you were sweating it on Thursday in that game against the Bears.
11-1 Lions, 11-1 Chiefs.
So good.
Remember opening night last year?
Oh, man. That feels like forever ago. But that was a good game. But, man, the Lions have just been so good. Now, the last couple of weeks, injuries have hit. And that's going to be something we'll have to talk to Bo about. I mean, that game Thursday for the Lions, it felt like every other play somebody was going down with an injury.
Right, 2 weeks ago Sunday, I was doing a show with a friend of mine on Sunday morning in Little Rock, and we were talking on the NFL. We may get to with Bo this. I said it's sadly like a lot of people perceive life out there right now in the country. There's no burgeoning middle class.
Nope.
And in the NFL, it's so top heavy. To look at the number of teams now when you bring up the standings that you see are eliminated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the NFL, they do the best job of anybody out there of those last couple of Sundays of all the playoff scenarios. Some of them are so wild, you could never hit on all of them.
Yeah.
But this team can still. They can't even sell that this year.
No.
There are going to be a bunch of teams around Christmas that the NFL can't even fake it that they're still alive.
Well, that was the thing. That was the other thing that hit me over, on the Thanksgiving holiday weekend with, games happening on that Thursday and even Friday. You're getting tweets of this team has clinched a spot in the playoffs and this team is eliminated. I'm going, it's Thanksgiving. There's still a whole lot of football to play.
You have to have a middle class.
Yeah.
I'm scared college football is going to just that gilded few and then everybody else. You have to have a middle class.
Yeah, but that's a really good point because right now it's
and the NFL always has.
Yeah, but right now there are teams that are really, really good and there's teams that are bad and there's not a team that's like, yeah, they're feisty.
There's not that 6, 7, 8, 5, 7 and 6 team that scares me.
No. It's a strange year for sure, but we'll definitely have to talk More about that with Bo Marchant. We'll do that at the top of the next hour at 5 o'clock. But let's go ahead and get to a break, because when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Indulge yourself or your loved ones this season with a trip to Sissy's Log Cabin. Here, you can shop our expansive selection of designer brands, one-of-a-kind jewelry, and spectacular statement pieces, all while enjoying the Sissy's promise of unmatched quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Stop by any location or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com to find your trusted jeweler for holiday memories that will last a lifetime. Make a statement this season only at Sissy's Log Cabin.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Memphis, get loud for your Grizzlies this Thursday at 7 p.m. when they host the Sacramento Kings in a Western Conference showdown. It's time to get loud, rally the squad, and get ready for an epic matchup by securing your tickets today at Grizzlies.com. Sportstime on Sports 56 and 95 once again. All records will be in Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, my big number today is 668. That's how many passing yards Jameis Winston threw for last night. Now, unfortunately for Jameis Winston, 171 of those yards were off of interceptions. It was yards that the other team
that would have been a record.
Yes, no, it would have been. But it was a record, Brett, because when you look at Jameis Winston throwing for 497 yards and 4 touchdowns, he also threw 3 interceptions, which included the 171 yards of interception yardage. That combines for 668 yards, which is the most by any quarterback in a single game in NFL history when you combine the yardage of actual passing and combined interception yardage. He is amazing. I mean, he's a fine football player, but him just getting quotes. I mean, I just want him to have a podcast, something where I can hear him speak.
He's got one.
Well, he doesn't yet, Brett. That's the thing, is he doesn't have one, but I need
He's
him
the
to
only
get one.
person in the country that doesn't have
He's the
one
only one
then.
that doesn't have one, and he's the one that deserves it the most. Because, Brett, after the game, he goes to the press conference and says that he's praying to the Lord to be delivered from pick sixes. That's hilarious.
Sometimes you got to turn to him.
I mean, you got to.
Breaking as we speak, our friend Pat Smith down in Birmingham, Jock says that UAB will keep Trent Dilfer
How about that?
for next year.
Good news for the Tigers, I guess.
Thank you. You're right. Little surprised by that.
I'm very surprised by that.
We've had hires at Rice, Temple, and FAU. Scott Abel hired at Rice, Casey Keeler at Temple, And the youngest coach now in FBS, Zach Kitley, hired at FAU.
How old is Kitley?
I didn't see the age, but I saw the headline that youngest.
Youngest. I'll have to look that up. I'll look it up right now.
Remains for ECU, Charlotte, and Tulsa. So with Dilfer staying, unless someone left for a better job, it looks like everything will be set when ECU and Charlotte and Tulsa hire. No more firings.
Interesting. Yeah, that is. I thought it was going to be a given that there was going to be a coaching change at UAB. So a little surprised
I did too.
That they're keeping him. Zach Kitley is 33 years old, and he looks young.
Which is amazing that now gets that headline youngest.
Yeah.
And the late Bill Battle hired at 28 at Tennessee.
I mean, that's
28.
But I always talk about, like, there are stats out there and numbers and things that you know and you've heard before, but every time you see it,
you want to go check it.
It blows your mind.
Yeah.
When that news was coming out on Thursday of his passing and people were talking about him and all that stuff, and everyone kept saying, he started coaching at this age, and I was going, there's absolutely no way, but I knew
went 11-1 his first year.
That's insane. I mean, it's awesome. But yes, that is crazy that he was coaching then and now 33.
Now how he ended up getting. George always told the story, and George was very, very plugged in with anything Tennessee. They had a prominent offensive coordinator that wanted the job and a prominent defensive coordinator that wanted the job, and it was going to fracture the fan base. And the AD said, okay, I'm not hiring either one of them. I'm hiring the wide receivers coach.
Holy cow.
28-year-old Bill
You're
Battle.
Kidding.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
It's a crazy way to come up with a hiring, too. But I guess it worked out. I mean.
Tennessee was real good coming out of the Doug Dickey years and heading into the 70s. And Coach Battle did a good job there. But what always hurt him so much is them having Johnny Majors out there in coaching. Mm-hmm. And before Peyton Manning, you can't believe, Brian, before Peyton Manning came along, just the legendary former player status that Coach Majors had. He was the all-timer. Doug Atkins was close. There were some others. But you had passing yards. I've got rushing yards. Mine is 2,288. That's Ashton Genty's yards rushing this year with only 2 fumbles. 312 carries, 2,200, almost 2,300 yards, 2 fumbles all year. Handling the ball that much. Look, I got to vote. I know who I'm going to. I'm almost certain who I'm going to vote for the Heisman, and it's the two-way player. Okay. We're not supposed to tell. Yeah. But I'm keeping my mind open a little bit for Genty, a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Hunter. I'm pretty sure. But with everybody focused on him being the game plan every week, his fewest number of yards rushing in a game this year was 127 yards. Now, it's going to be Travis Hunter by acclamation. Mm-hmm. But I can see where that part of the country, those voters, have that chance once in a lifetime. Boise's never had a winner to vote for him. Yeah. I don't think it's crazy. No. I hear some going, well, if you vote for anybody other than Hunter, they should take your voting privileges. No, not necessarily.
No. I don't think it's crazy at all. I mean, what he's doing, the records he's breaking, he's an incredible, talented player. And so it bothers me. It doesn't bother me at all. I would actually be mad if Genty didn't get votes. I mean, I know he's probably not going to win, but he deserves votes. He's an incredible player.
All right. Hypothetically, if you went Hunter, Genty, who would you go third? Who would you suggest to a voter you may know to put it in his or her ear to vote 3?
Oh, geez. That's a great question.
What about the quarterback in Indiana?
Led
flipping Indiana to 11-1 year and in the playoffs.
That's one you're not going to hear a lot, but I think there's a great case to be made for it. That might be.
And who does it really matter who you vote 3? I could vote me 3, and who cares?
Yeah, I do hear that the two-way player you were referencing earlier, and maybe his quarterback, maybe his teammate. Here they have a great PR team.
Hypothetically, of course.
Yeah, I hear hypothetically they have a great PR team that's doing a lot of things.
Well, look what they've accomplished.
It's been fun to watch. I mean, from what that team was last year.
It's not a two-man team.
No.
But it's not real deep. And that's Genty at Boise State. I don't know how great that cast around him is.
No, I mean, it's a good question. Take him off that team, and what do they look like? But, as much as he's running the ball.
I won't have any SEC guys 1, 2, 3.
hard to
hypothetically,
believe. Hypothetically, yes. Hypothetically, not having any on there it's different because
doesn't that speak to the year in the SEC? And my
it
theory of it was good, it wasn't great.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was talking with some buddies and they were arguing because one's an Alabama fan, one's a Tennessee fan, and they were arguing of who was the better quarterback if you compared those two, and you look at the numbers, and if you just look at stats, they're kind of similar, and one of those teams really would rather not rely on the quarterback, and the other team has to rely on the quarterback.
Who won third Saturday in October?
It's a great point. I mean, it's hard to argue. With what happened on the field. And so I think that shows kind of what this year was for the SEC. It was a really good year, but I don't think it's been a great year, outstanding year for that conference. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this second hour and get to another break. And when we come back, we've got to talk some NFL. Bo Marchant, he joins us next. Talk everything that happened in the NFL. We had a coach firing. We had a lot of interesting results, and we had some injuries. So we'll talk the NFL next with Bo Marchant.
Farmers have counted on the little red tractor from Case IH, the Farm Law, to help them make short work of demanding chores. Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list. From hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH Farm Law that's right for you.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, it's happy hour from 3 to 6. $1 off all draft meals, $5 off meal drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and pretzels, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and more. Friday night ice cream, 7 Club, dining in Montreal, Wednesday, 5 Raiders, free. Watch college football every pro game. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Highway 70. Fall is football.
High-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rows, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
Tons of UTIs. Cranberry products never worked for me, and I was desperate for a way to be proactive. I'm Jenna Ryan, CEO and founder of Eucora. We've worked with doctors to develop effective urinary tract health products. Eucora is helping over 100,000 women stay healthy. Ready to join them? Get 30% off at eucora.com/radio. That's UQORA.com/radio.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. They're still over here wrapping up a wreck that I thought would be out of here by now. It's 40 westbound at that 240 flyover. Again, that wreck is to the side on Bill Morris Parkway westbound just past Kirby. The heaviest flow of traffic's over in the eastbound lanes going outbound on 385 Bill Morris Parkway, working your way out towards Collierville. As traffic builds out here on all the major outbound routes, give yourself a little bit of extra time. Hey, don't miss the pet photos with Santa this coming Saturday at the Humane Society. Check out their website for all the details. It's memphisHumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Once again,
Say you stand by your man. Tell me something.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. And we got to talk the NFL. We do it every single Tuesday afternoon, and we do it with Bo Marchant.
National Football League talk every Tuesday with Bo Marchant, covering the NFL Draft at collegetopro.com and the NFL Draft Bible, covering the Steelers for Sports Illustrated, living and running in Eastern Ohio, and on Twitter X at Bo Marchant. Here's Bo with Bryant and Brett.
Bo Marchant joins us now to talk the NFL. And Bo, we got to start by talking about a firing. It happened on Friday, the day after the Bears lost to Brett's Lions in just the fashion that game ended with.
That has a ring to it.
It does. It's a nice ring to it. But the way that the Bears lost that game, a timeout in Eberflus's back pocket, and you're just watching the seconds tick off, Caleb Williams trying to figure out what to do, and ultimately they're only able to run a play, and time winds out. He gets fired the next day. It just didn't feel like it was working with Eberflus. The players after the game, it felt like what they were saying were kind of saying, we did everything we could, but Eberflus didn't. What did you think of kind of everything that went into this firing?
Yeah, I think the one odd thing is, you look at that game and the end of it was atrocious, needless to say. And the saddest part was, the Bears played a competitive game against the Lions on Thanksgiving Day.
The thing crazy.
They think it's a 3-point loss. I mean, I think going into it, especially the way the Lions are playing, you're like, is this going to be 52-10, 48-3? But Eberflus, I thought they were playing well under the circumstances, but that was just a colossal failure. And I think the revolt and the anger inside the locker room, Ryan Poles, the GM, and everybody involved in that situation, I think that is what pushed him out the door. I think maybe if the timeout and there was a better way to end the game, you actually look at that. I think this had to be an internal thing, a revolt by the locker room, just total dysfunction, and it led to his, but Thomas Brown, the OC, he's been working at this a while, so I'm excited. There's still a lot to take on a plate. He's never, he was assistant coach with the Rams, so he has some experience with Sean McVay, and Sean McVay seems to have a good little coaching tree that he's kind of creating with O'Connell and such. So maybe Thomas, can be that. Thomas Brown can be that next guy. So at least the Bears are sticking to an offensive coordinator that's in house, that's been there with Caleb Williams. The sad part is if Brown doesn't turn this around, and not in terms of wins, but just terms of the atmosphere and Caleb Williams into a better player in the final weeks of the season, then he'll most likely, I don't know if he'll return to the, OC, because you bring a new guy who may not want him. So there's a lot to be observed, I guess, over the final, 4 or 5 games of the year for the Bears in terms of Brown. Does he get, Williams going, and does he get the team going? If he does that, maybe he turns interim coach into head coach.
Yeah.
And Bo, I think it's above the coaching level in with the Bears. I think it starts with Kevin Warren and then the general manager, and we're already into the first chapter of how to wreck Caleb Williams.
Yeah, that's the whole key. And it's not that he's been horrific by any stretch of the imagination. I just think when you see the way that Daniels is playing in Washington, the way Nix is playing in Denver, even Drake May in New England. And, I think that's where you want to see more from Caleb Williams. And I do think it'll come. But I think, the turmoil that existed, and maybe this was something that lasted longer internally with Eberflus there. Well, we won't know that, and we might not ever know that. But I just think that, there's still a lot of upside to Caleb Williams. I mean, this short in the season, there's no reason to push the panic button. I mean, he's done some brilliant things, and as all rookies do, he's looked like a rookie. It just, when you're the number one pick, you really want to, fast track to success. You want instant, gratification. But sometimes it doesn't work like that, and there's a reason why the Bears were able to select him. They weren't a good football team prior to them drafting him. And they never got Justin Fields off the ground either, or Mitchell Trubisky. So their history with developing quarterbacks, and you could go back all the way to, Sid Luckman. I don't even know. I mean, you're talking about a long time for the Bears, we could also say Jim McMahon, but nonetheless, the Bears have a lot of work.
Yeah, but you could go back a long way for a lot of busts for Bear quarterbacks. And, Bo, it was generally regarded that Caleb Williams was stepping into the best situation with surrounding cast than those other three rookie first-rounders that you mentioned.
Yeah, you figure they take a Dunze, I think 8th overall in this draft. They get more in the Bryce Young trade. They bring in Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, they extend, and then you get John Jerry Swift. They bring him in. You're looking at the offense thinking, wow, this is a gold mine for this youngster to step in and have all of this talent. It's going to be an easy transition for him to be successful, but it hasn't been the case. The line needs its work, and you got to have guys up front that are top notch. We see that with every team. You got to have guys that are elite up front, and that makes everything click. So, again, Williams, no time to press the panic button if you're Chicago fans, but you do have a lot of work ahead of you. And again, with Thomas Brown taking over, this is going to be his do or die moment. To retain the job, develop Caleb over the final month of the season, or the Bears and polls and the GM polls. They're going to start looking elsewhere, and who knows who they bring in, or if he's successful, they keep Brown.
Mm-hmm. But the other big story from the weekend had to be the hit on Trevor Lawrence by Azeez Al-Shaair for the Texans. He's now been suspended 3 games for that hit, but it starts a little bit of a brawl between the two teams. He gets ejected from the game. After the game, he kind of tried to play it of I didn't mean to hurt him. I played to the whistle, and it was the last second when I saw that he was sliding. You even saw D'Amico Ryans kind of come out and say, well, maybe we need to take a look at these rules with quarterbacks and how much they're allowed to do in terms of getting down and sliding. What did you make of the play and this now suspension that's being handed down to him?
Yeah, I understand from the defensive side a point. Lawrence is going for a first down. You want to prevent the first down, but I think we live in a day and age where, as a defender, it's coached into you that if you're going to do something that looks violent, and that was violent, but even if it looks violent, you're going to get the yellow flag. So not only you could be preventing the first down, but you're guaranteeing the team the offensive first down plus 15 yards. So I thought it was ugly. I wouldn't say it was malicious in terms he was trying to hit him, but when I watched it, I just felt that he didn't do anything to hold back or diminish the impact that he was going to have on Lawrence. So I think it's a fair call in 3 games. I think that's a fair assessment of the penalty that he had. So we know these guys got to be protected, and he had to leave the game, and it was ugly, and that was the proof of the pudding, where you see Lawrence on his back, and he was concussed and knocked out, and it's you got to prevent that, and he could have hurt himself too. Sometimes we see players in collisions, and sometimes it's the defender that gets the most of it. So, but again, a play you don't want to see. It does happen. It's a violent game, and that's not going to be the last time we speak of a defender, making a play where it's a little bit over the top, maybe. But that's what it is. But I didn't like it, put it that way. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was a mistake in terms of he messed up and, he took the wrong angle and didn't know. I think there were points, if you really watch it closely, there wasn't to me any point where he put on the brakes. To me, he was just full go.
I don't want to be argumentative with you, of course,
Bo,
you're fine. But I'm going to take his side in that the defensive players, every rule has been made against them, and the sliding now some of these slides start almost simultaneous to you going in on them. What are they supposed to do? Do an immediate pirouette in the sky?
In an awkward situation, I just think there's a point where you know that you're going through the guy. You know that you're not letting up. And I think that's for me was I didn't feel that I saw him, take it a step back. I almost thought he put the throttle down.
But then you have those super athletic quarterbacks. So is Trevor Lawrence, but you have those super, just freak show athletes like Lamar Jackson. Maybe not in full slide, like a few years ago. Who mimicked the slide and then stood up? Was
it was Kenny Pickett won in college.
Kenny Pickett did in college, yeah.
It was Kenny Pickett. Bo, I bet you were at that game he did.
I was at that game. I remember him. Yeah, he was breaking down the right sideline and going down the field, and he did it. And obviously the Panthers fans were happy, but it kind of upset. And granted,
it should. Next time you're out there, we light you up when you come across there for doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Long before the rule changed, Joe Montana appeared to be dipping it out of bounds one time, and he was a really good runner. I mean, people forget what a crafty runner Joe Montana was. He appeared to be going out of bounds, and he cut it up. I don't know I don't know if it was against the Giants or Washington, but all those NFC teams back then just hated each other, and they told him, "You do that again, we're going to try to kill you."
And that back then you could get away with it. That's not like today. I mean, back then you were going to take the brunt of what they said. There was going to be no holding back and no flags either. You were just going to take your punishment and try to.
But I know DeMeco Ryans is not a dirty coach or dirty player or dirty type person.
You know what? Again, it's the circumstance and happenstance of the game of the NFL. And you mentioned it earlier. I mean, guys are sliding. I'm dipping my head. I'm moving in a position. You're kind of already locked and loaded in terms of how you're going to react to me, and you go forward. And that's not going to stop. And the defenders have to defend the field. I just think there was just no. Again, I've said it 4 times, but there was just no pause in his momentum. I just think
the visual looked terrible.
That's what it is. That's the look. We live in a society where everything is visual. You think
everything's
of the most horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, all the horrific events of history. What we can see on the television, it's ingrained in us. Because you see it, you feel it. And no difference with that hit, and it can go the opposite. When you see a guy make a great play, it's the most amazing thing you ever saw. You can hear about it, but if you never see it, it's like, oh, okay, he made a great play. But once you witness it, you're like, wow, that was astonishingly good. So, but again, it's one of them things. But it's the sad part. It's the Jags and the Giants, So it's, Trevor Lawrence, the season, it's just been a disaster. You got to wonder if they bring him back or they just kind of.
How has Doug Peterson not been fired? We keep waiting for Trent Dilfer to get fired at UAB down here. I mean, I had Doug Peterson out during the open date, and he's still hanging on.
I think him coming back from London and not getting canned. I think ownership just said, "Listen, we're going to keep this guy around to the end of the season. We're not going to." I
thought he'd be on a ferry across the Atlantic right now.
Yeah. 2-10. Just it's astonishing to think that they're 2-10. It's just the talented teams in this league that have just. I don't remember a season where there was more hype around so many teams, and I bought into a lot of the hype for a lot of those teams, and they have just been disasters. And you look at the Jets, the Jags.
This is the perfect segue,
the Dolphins.
Bro, this is the perfect segue. One of those teams in the preseason we thought would have a more rosier outlook. It was the Cowboys, wasn't it, Bo?
Thank you, Brett.
It was, but hey, they're winners of 2 straight.
How about that?
There we go.
We're back.
They're back. Hey, listen. At least they're playing hard. The good. And I thought that was an entertaining game on Thanksgiving Day. The Giants made it interesting. It's the Cowboys.
Oh, that's when the nap kicked in for me.
Yeah, I tell you what. It's going to be a long shot. We know that. I mean, there's but I don't know how they're going to catch Washington or even Green Bay. I mean, those seem like the wild card teams right now. So that's a lot of ground to make up. So they're on the outside looking in, and miraculous circumstances on both sides for any of these teams ahead of them to fail. and for them to catch fire and get hot down the stretch to finish like 10-7 or it's not going to happen.
All joking aside, next Monday night is a matchup of two teams that nobody thought would be in this condition. Joe Burrow and the Bengals and the Cowboys, 4-8 against 5-7.
Yeah,
and frankly, surprising, both of them have one has 4 and the other has 5 wins.
Yeah, I tweeted after the game. I mean, Eberflus was 4-8 with Caleb Williams. He got canned, and Zach Taylor is 4-8 with Joe Burrow, and he's still employed. So,
wow,
it's a
lot of truth there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why when you got lousy teams, and I say this all the time with coaches of the year, et cetera, et cetera. I love guys who do more with less, and I just think when you look at the 3-9 Jets, the way Miami has played, the way the Bengals have played, it's just the Jaguars, the Cowboys. It's unacceptable for that amount of talent. It doesn't mean you have to be 13-0 or 12-0 and be scoring 50 points and throwing shutouts, but be competitive, be in the games, have a winning record. And for the teams that don't, I mean, look at how awful the Panthers looked early on. They benched Bryce Young, and how resilient, despite losing, how resilient they've been over the last month, playing tight-knit games, hard-fought
Bryce Young
games,
has gotten better.
He's gotten better, but to me, that's Canales. He's maybe building a culture there. And granted, they're 3-9, but I just think when a team is like that, you look at the shelf.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and they were selling at the trade deadline. They weren't taking anything in; they were selling. So, the Jets, they were bringing everybody in possible, and you'll think that they have the same record. So, kudos to Dave Canales. Those are the guys I think are doing tremendous jobs. And it doesn't mean if you have a good team and you're winning, you're a bad coach at all either. I mean, these guys are all doing fantastic jobs, keeping these teams afloat, keeping them in the elite level. McDermott with the 10-2 Bills team. I didn't think they had a chance against the Dolphins and the Jets this year. And lo and behold, the Bills are looking fantastic. But at the end of the day, I just think you got to play well, play better than what you got, and great coaches can do that. And we're kind of seeing that, bad coaches not do much with what they have. I mean, 2-10 Jags, I mean, that's a sad result for the 2024 team.
Bo, I know you've watched it many times like I have, but the ESPN 30 for 30, I think it's the two Bills, and they have the sit-down interview with Belichick and Parcells in the locker room. I don't know if it's at the new MetLife or it was at Old Giant Stadium. And it was the first time after they had some fractured feelings through the years of them to kind of agree to do something like that. And they talked about the cornerstone being laid of the Giants. Parcells took over after Ray Perkins got the Alabama job after Bayer retired. And Parcells was saying, just a few years before that, he was the head coach at Air Force. He said, these guys, I had to do something for them to start respecting me and building a program.
It makes sense, and that's culture. He takes over, as you say, he takes over for Perkins, and I think listen, that was a long time ago, but I know like his first year, I know the Giants weren't good. I don't remember how many games I think they won 4 games, and again, I just know that they were bad the first year, and then he started to turn it around, and they become
and did it with a quarterback with Sims.
Sims and Joe Morris and Mark Bavaro and the great linebackers, the foursome of Carson and Banks,
LT
and possibly LT. I mean,
that set the music on one side.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, just a fun team, and growing up, the obsession with the NFC East, rooting for Washington. Those were Pat Summerall, John Madden games, and you hear their voices, and then those are just great games, great teams, and you loved to hate the Giants at the time because they were good and they were better than you, and you wanted to get past them. And Parcells was dynamic, and great games, great teams, and it was just a good time with Summerall and Madden. That was the icing on the cake of just watching great games.
Talking to Bo Marchionte, he joins us every week to talk the NFL. The team you cover, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they keep winning. Now 9-3 on the season.
Mike Tomlin, Coach of the Year.
He's been fantastic, and I'm now seeing a bunch of people coming out and saying, "Well, I don't know why anybody would bet against the Steelers right now." Why would you ever bet against Mike Tomlin? He has been really, really good in covering games. In that game against the Bengals, Calvin Austin scored a touchdown, but he did leave the game with a concussion. What have you heard on his status?
You know what? Nothing yet. Nothing yet. So we'll find out probably, in a couple days. And him practicing if he can back on the practice field. The funny thing is he came back in to the game after the hit, and then after halftime, he that's when they said he was in concussion protocol and he would not return. But that was the talking about just the evolution of this offense. That was the first time in his career that he's had back-to-back touchdowns. He had one in Cleveland last week, and he had one this past Sunday in Cincinnati. So it's nice that he's at 5. I also posted on Twitter, the duo of Fields and Russell Wilson, they've already exceeded last year's quarterbacks by 2 touchdowns, so 15-13. And you figure, they have 5 games left. So it just shows you that, why it's not the most prolific offense in the history of the league. If you compare it to how that team was last year, I think it just kind of speaks volumes that, with 5 games remaining, they're 2 touchdowns ahead of the pace of last year's team. So I think
and a real chance this week favored over Cleveland at home to get to 10 wins.
Yeah, in this one, you could just tell they want this one. After that game up in Cleveland in the snowstorm, coming back to Acrisure Stadium, this is a game they're going to want bad. I think that's the tasteful. You want to get that taste out of your mouth after a loss like that to a team that's really not on your par, but you played to their level and they got you and they outplayed them and they played harder. So I expect a ruckus crowd in Pittsburgh for this week, and I expect the Steelers to bring it. Sometimes they lack that luster and don't bring it. And you could say, how did they say that at 9-3? Well, I could say it. That's why they lost in Cleveland. If you're a real hammer, you don't lose that game. So big one. And the key is, you're playing a Cleveland team that's not very good, but they're playing hard. But after this game, and you talk about that 10th win, then they go on the road to Philly. Then they go on the road to Baltimore. Then you come back Christmas Day against the Chiefs, and then you wrap up with the Bengals. So that's a heck of a stretch of, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs. And then, regardless of the Bengals record, they're a division team. So, Joe Burrow and company, they can score at will. So it's a tough stretch. And this is the stretch we've talked about for the Steelers since the off season, before the season began. Can they get through the beginning to give themselves an opportunity at the end? They have. They've done that part. They're 9-3, but this is the stretch coming between the Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs where it's going to kind of really test this team.
Yeah. Last thing for you, Bill. I love watching snow games, but it was really hard to watch Sunday night, the 49ers on the road against the Bills. It was fun watching what Josh Allen did when he throws the pass, he gets it flipped back to him, and he runs it into the end zone. But on the other side, for Christian McCaffrey, another injury for him. They've placed him on the IR. I mean, a guy that was working for a while to get back out there, and now it just feels like can't catch a break this year.
Yeah, at least watching the 49ers since McCaffrey returned a couple games back, I just never thought he looked explosive. No. We're used to seeing a certain type of guy when you think of Christian McCaffrey. You're talking, wow, arguably the best guy with the ball in his hands in the entire league, and that's saying a lot. I just never saw that. And, I know Jordan Mason was going on the IR as well, but at the point prior to McCaffrey coming back, he was the leading rusher in the league, so they could run the ball, and Mason was doing it at a high level. So I just thought McCaffrey never looked right, but again, it's sad to see him go down, and it's sad when they don't get hit and the body just kind of breaks down on his own. We all saw him, kind of slide to the ground, and he's such a stud, and it hurts them in terms of they can run the ball, but he's that dynamic guy where. You got to know where he is at all times. He's a threat out of the backfield, and he's a threat running the ball. He's just a threat. And now that threat's gone. They're 5-7. They looked horrendous against the Bills the other night. Just so many costly mistakes. It's just not 49ers football. So, but they're lucky, and this is where the aggravation sets in. If you're one of these other teams, if you're the Eagles, the Washington, Lions, you're the teams in the NFC North. You're still looking at San Francisco. They're 5-7. But no, I don't think anybody trusts the Seahawks. Nobody trusts the Cardinals or the Rams. So they're not out of it. If they're in an elite division, just say the North right now, or perhaps the East, they're completely out of the race. They're the Cowboys. Put it that way. If they're in another division, they're the Cowboys, and the season's over. But they just have to be in the West. That it's still a shot that maybe they can get ahead of some of these teams if they slip up.
In the preseason, if you had said the highlight of Christian McCaffrey's year is going to be in the Movado watch commercials with Ludacris, Jessica Alba, and Tyrese Halliburton and Julianne Moore, I don't think people would have believed you.
No, but I love the one when he's sitting on the couch with whatchamacallit, when he's talking about Jerry McConaughey.
Great
Yeah,
commercial, the Uber Eats commercial. It's fantastic.
That would be my
I prefer
highlight.
Jessica Alba to McConaughey.
Well, we're doing that. I mean, we can start a whole. You know what? I'm going to call back, and we have another half hour. We'll just talk about that.
We'll just talk commercials. I love it.
I don't want to sound like an ageist, but I don't know how Julianne Moore worked into that group.
Hey, well,
she's around my age.
Well, get in where you fit in, I guess. I don't know. Bo, as always.
Didn't know Ludacris would get mentioned today, did you, Bo?
No, I also did not have that on my bingo card. That is
no,
especially coming from you, Brett.
Yeah, Brett's thrown out. Who knows? Maybe Brett's got a jet. Maybe at Christmas he'll break the news of the engagement with Jessica. Who knows?
No, he will not break that news. I can assure you.
Well, Bo, as always, thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, Bo.
Stay safe, gentlemen. Thank you.
You got it, man.
Thanks, man. Brett, do you have any Ludacris on your?
I do not.
No,
I do not.
Luda. I like Ludacris.
I like Lude from in the day.
Yeah, good. Makes good music. But I guess now he's doing commercials and movies.
Again, I don't know how Julianne Moore's in that.
But hey, good for her. If you can make it work, then make it work. But let me remind you,
I've just got a text that Julianne Moore's birthday is today.
Happy birthday! Oh, Brett, I love birthdays. That's fantastic.
Oh, me too. I wonder what age. Let's hit the Google machine.
Yeah.
Wonder how old.
We gotta learn that. It's a good commercial, though. Both those.
It is a good commercial.
The Uber Eats commercial is fantastic.
Age. She's older than me.
Whoa.
I can go ageism.
Whoa. I love it.
64?
Wow. Happy birthday. Love it.
Look pretty good for 64.
The big 6'4". Never looked better. How about that? I love it.
64?
Happy birthday. It's a lot of candles to blow out tonight.
I said 62, my age.
Yeah, well, hey, you're only off a couple, and you would have been
Yeah,
right. You would have been even
enough.
closer yesterday.
But if you go over on Price is Right, you lose, Brian. You know the rules.
You're exactly right about that.
Did you see how I so subtly got in cowboy talk in there?
No, it was good. It's why you're a pro, Brett. I hated it,
I'm
but
sorry.
hey, it is what it is. They need to be discussed, and we might have to talk about them a little bit more during What's Trending, because Dak Prescott has made comments about his head coach and how he deserves a contract extension. So we might have to get to that in our next segment. Before we do that, let me remind you about our 5 o'clock sponsors. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City, they've been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the Range Rover Sport, the Range Rover Velar, and the Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options range from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. And don't forget about the Defender, available in multiple models to fit your needs. The Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. Visit them online at jaguarbluffcity.com. But go out there, visit, test drive those beautiful vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove, right there just off of Quince. You can't miss it for Bluff City Jaguar. Well, we need to get to another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Whitman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-345-2789. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-345-2789. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-345-2789. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-345-2789. 800-345-2789 or biglou.com.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Indulge yourself or your loved ones this season with a trip to Sissy's Log Cabin. Here, you can shop our expansive selection of designer brands, one-of-a-kind jewelry, and spectacular statement pieces, all while enjoying the Sissy's promise of unmatched quality, service, and brilliant natural values. Stop by any location or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com to find your trusted jeweler for holiday memories that will last a lifetime. Make a statement this season only at Sissy's Log Cabin.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. I'm looking at a crash out here on 40 eastbound at Chambers Chapel. That's really jamming up that traffic now. That's already heavy out in this area on 40 East trying to get out into Fayette County. Again, a crash on 40 eastbound at Chambers Chapel. It's got it slow in both directions, east and westbound. Still heavy on 240 as you get on to 385 Billmore Parkway going outbound. Shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We're back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got a little bit less than 30 minutes left in today's show. We got to talk about what's trending. A couple things I want to talk about when it comes to what's trending. We might be getting a crazy, even the proposal seems crazy, of a new rule for Major League Baseball that I want to discuss. But before we get to that, Brett, you mentioned earlier the next couple of days that we have coming up, including tonight with Memphis sports. Tonight we got the Grizzlies. They're back at home Thursday night. But tomorrow night, the Memphis Tiger basketball team is at home taking on La Tech. We talked about it earlier. That feels like the buzz, the energy is there for this team. Penny Hardaway had his coach's radio show last night and loved what he was saying, and seemed like the videos and pictures I saw, good crowd
Sure
on
did.
hand for that. So it feels like there's a lot of energy. But we have a 4-pack of tickets for tomorrow night's game. If you want to go out there, support the AP Top 25 Tiger basketball team tomorrow night against La Tech. How about we always do first caller? Let's do second caller today. Second caller to the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. As always, these tickets courtesy of our friends over at Sissy's Log Cabin. Give it a call right now, 901-360-8255. That's 901-360-8255. If you're the second caller, 4 tickets and a parking pass for tomorrow night's Tiger basketball game against La Tech. And Brett, I think we're both hoping and expecting a good crowd there tomorrow night for that game.
I sure hope so, and I think I know it's deserved to have the week they've had and the start they had. Don't forget that San Francisco win on the way to Maui.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge one. I talked about it, and we talked about the next day of maybe that's the win of the year, and at the time it was. Now that quickly got overshadowed by UConn.
Sure.
But San Francisco's a really good team, and the way they were able to win that game, going down early and then coming out and playing really, really well, that was a very impressive win.
This is not hinge of the tickets. I think we got a winner, don't we?
I believe Darian's getting their information right now. Yeah,
real quick. So
yeah, they had excitement.
I'm
I
glad.
love it.
I'm glad to see the quick interest in that for tomorrow night. And again, like you said, thank you so much to Sissy's Log Cabin. But this is easy. Greatest player in Louisiana Tech history.
Oh,
the mailman.
Jeez, yeah, that's right. Yes.
Not even close.
No, not even close. Kenneth Lofton.
Paul Millsap would be a distant second.
Paul Millsap, and he announced his retirement today. But
and I thought he had been retired.
Well, I think he was playing somewhere else, maybe, because the tweet that came out said retiring from basketball. It never said retiring from the NBA. So I think he had been away from the NBA, maybe playing overseas somewhere, and just now is completely done with basketball.
But the mailman's in a league of his own, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he stands in a category far away from anybody else.
I'm trying to get to their all-time points list. He's got to be at the top.
He's got to be, and probably by a good margin, I would say.
He's not.
Whoa.
He's not.
Whoa. He's got to be second, right?
He's 8th.
Whoa.
All-time in points.
How long was
I can't believe
How
that.
long was he there? Was he there?
It says 83 and 84. I thought he was there longer than that. Huh.
Maybe
okay, well, I would have lost on that.
Yeah, that would have been a lost bet for you. But tomorrow night, though, they don't have mailman not on that team tomorrow night.
No, he's not. Nor Paul Millsap.
Nor Paul Millsap. Nor Kenneth Lofton.
All-time offensive rebounder leader, Paul Millsap.
Yeah, got to be easily.
Mike Green never would have had that.
No. Well, Mike Green, shut up. He's the leading scorer.
92 games. Mailman was there 3 years.
Interesting.
And played here in the NCAA tournament one of those years, maybe after the 84 season at the Coliseum.
Really? Wow. Interesting. Well, that'll be a good game tomorrow night. We'll have to do Tiger Bankroll tomorrow for that game.
Will.
The odds haven't been out, but tomorrow they'll certainly be out, and we'll have to do Tiger Bankroll. Darian was saying earlier how hot he's been on Tiger Bankroll and took his
Darian's been
first
hot on
loss.
everything.
Yeah, it's just a given. He's going to be hot on whatever.
Go to the casino with Darian.
Yes. No, we got to make a date out of it. And all
we
go
need
down
to send
the
Darian
casino.
out for Powerball tickets.
Yes, you're on to something now.
I purchase those frequently, sir, and I'm still here working.
Well, yeah.
You gonna cut us in on the big win?
Got to. You got to.
We found Darian's Achilles heel, though. Preseason picks. The only thing that he has not been unbelievable at with picking with us, the preseason when we did W's and L's on all the AAC teams, I won. I got there with the most wins. I got there with 87 and 23. So that's 791 picking. Bryant, you were second at 85 and 25, 773 picking. Connor was third, 83-27, 756 picking. and Darian 77 and 33, 70% picking. That was his weak spot. His AAC preseason at 70%.
It's great. I love that, being last in AAC, and it's still 70%. That's lovely.
It's still 70%. Now, my contention on all these preseason W's and L's, I think about 70 is the baseline, because you have so many, like in the SEC, you have Georgia and Tennessee Tech, you have Auburn
Mercer and Furman,
right.
And,
I mean,
stuff like that.
that builds up your percentage so
just
well.
Doing wins and losses,
and the same in the AAC when you have like the Tigers opening day against North Alabama or Tulane against Southeast Louisiana, same thing there. So in the SEC, here's who won. Connor is the winner, 103 and 25.
Wow.
.804.
Pretty good.
8's a good number to start with.
Number.
Darian was second, 128.781.
Wow.
That's second place. That's real good.
Really good.
Third place, Bryant, 97.31.757. And me, last place, 96 and 32 for a 75% total. I don't think 75% is very good because of those Ole Miss and Furman.
Sure. Well, but it makes sense, Brett, because there's nobody that just bleeds more red, white, and blue for the American Athletic Conference than you. I mean, you're Mr.
I really
AAC.
know the league, don't I?
Yeah, I mean, and you don't know anything about the SEC.
No, nothing at all. In the SEC, I mentioned it yesterday, I did have Texas right on all the way through. Here were my misses. I had 4 X's for Alabama, having 11 and 1, and they go down in 3. So you're going to have X's. Arkansas only had 2 X's for Arkansas. Had them winning at Oklahoma State where they lost. Had them losing to Auburn where they won. So had Arkansas 6-6.
Had the win against Tennessee. That was
had the win against Tennessee. That David Cobb tells me he has Memphis friends that heard that didn't like that when I picked it, or that I got it right. Sorry, guys. You're going to the playoffs. I'm not.
Yeah.
Auburn had 6 X's on Auburn.
Ooh.
I had them 75, but couldn't catch up with them almost any combination. For Florida, had Florida in the preseason 5 and 7. They go 7-5. Had 3 X's. Georgia had them undefeated. They don't, so obviously 2 X's. Alabama and Ole Miss. Kentucky had them 75 preseason. They go 4 and 8. So I had 5 X's. LSU 4 X's. Ole Miss 4. I missed on them winning over Georgia. I had it as a loss, and then the 3 losses I had as wins: Kentucky, LSU, and Florida. Mississippi State I missed on 1 game. I had State 3 and 9. I had them beating Toledo. Didn't get there. Mizzou 4 X's. Oklahoma 3 X's. I had OU 75. I never bought SEC ready. Did I?
You didn't. No, you were the first one saying they're not going to be ready.
South Carolina, hard to pick every year. I had 5 X's. Tennessee, just missed 1. I had them 9 and 3. They go 10 and 2. You know the one I missed, third Saturday in October. Texas, correct all the way across. Notre Dame, I had 9-3. They go 8-4. 5 X's. Vandy, I had 3-9. They go 6-6. 5 X's.
Wow. Interesting.
So all those preseason picks coming back to your radio next August.
That's right.
Beware.
You get them in August, and you get the
But way to go, Connor.
review in December. I love it.
Connor in first, me in
Connor.
last. He can dunk on me, can he?
He can. He can definitely dunk on you. The Mr. SEC picker, Connor Dacus. I love it. But hey, we'll see how it all plays out, because it all matters Sunday with what the playoffs look like. What do you gauge the outrage is going to be tonight? Like on a scale of 1 to 10?
It would just continue the SEC people of trying to bolster resumes, and I don't know why after tonight, because tonight's going to be a pretty great indicator of Sunday, and it's just like anybody around the NCAA tournament. If you're having to do this full court press sale job, it means you didn't win enough.
Yeah. If you're having to go all out and try to sell yourself,
and it's getting about exhausting.
Yeah, that's why tonight I think
season started in August. It doesn't start now. Yeah. Now it is getting exhausting too. that I think South Carolina thinks the season started in November.
Yeah, no, it's the hottest team in the country and this and that, and look what they've done since, the halfway point of the season.
Brian, I got something for you.
What's up?
Biggest crybaby of all, if Miami is in front of Alabama tonight, because like Brett said, it's the biggest teller of probably what Sunday is going to do. All hell's going to break loose because they know where they are.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, it all comes down to where
I would say don't give up 40 to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, if I'm – and Darren, you have the background and the experience in television. I'm ranking everything except for Miami tonight. I'm putting Miami last, whether they're 11 or 12, because that's what it all matters tonight is where Miami is ranked and kind of what that means for the game Saturday between SMU and Clemson.
I'm trying to look now. After scoring 40 on Bama, they did that on Saturday, October 5th. Vandy then scored 20 on Kentucky, 24 on Ball State, 24 on Texas, 17 against Auburn, 7 against South Carolina, 17 against LSU, and 23 against Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I know Alabama thinks it's a birthright, but you give up 40 to Vandy.
Yeah.
And lose 2 other times. Lose third Saturday and only score 3 at OU, and the only other team OU held to 3 all year was Temple.
Oh, Temple. How about that?
Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina, you did it to yourselves.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can only blame yourselves. But we'll see what happens tonight.
And all 3 are going to be in at a 16 team. But we're only having 12 this year.
Yeah.
And you knew that on opening day.
Yeah, it was going to be the 12, but who knows? I'm sure down the road very soon we'll have 16, and it's going to be a lot different than what it is with this year's playoff. But we'll know here in a couple minutes when we've got the ranking show of what it looks like going into these championship games. But we need to go ahead and get to our final break of the day, and when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous?
Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or in our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from the Mediterranean diet or steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with a perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family affair is still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
Because it's Christmas, Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory they have to move because you know it's Christmas. So don't wait. You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them for Christmas. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstock, or a place to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits. And all fire pits at Family Leisure are now 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Let's say no more. Spas are in stock, ready for Christmas delivery, and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for Christmas. Just come on by and check out their gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find. Family Leisure. With love and I-40, where family and fun come together for Christmas.
Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road in Memphis, right off I-40.
Make this a magical Christmas with help from Genesis Diamonds.
latest creations. Get our nutrition experts will help you make your gift and share ideas to realize on Christmas morning. So come see us at Genesis for the most romantic and memorable gift of the season. Get our latest store hours, directions, and finance details at GenesisDiamonds.com. Genesis Diamonds, luxury pre-owned Rolexes, popular Perkins extended. See store for details.
High energy, full body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rollers, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the babies crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye, Joe Haskell.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is that Dak Prescott said earlier today in an interview with Yahoo Sports that he believes in his head coach, Mike McCarthy, wholeheartedly. And he said that he deserves another contract as the Dallas Cowboys head coach. Now, first off, I don't like when players are asked these questions about their coach, because what's Dak going to do? Well, he's going to say he's terrible, he doesn't deserve to be our coach. No, of course he's going to say he's a great coach, I love him, yada, yada, yada. Any player would do that to their coach, for the most part, I think. But Mike McCarthy says it. I don't agree with it at all. I'm ready for the season to end and see who the next coach for the Dallas Cowboys is. I never wish for anybody to lose their job. But right now, what's happening with the Cowboys ain't working. I don't necessarily think it's all Mike McCarthy's fault. I think it's higher up. But here's what happens. You're not going to fire the owner. Owner can't be fired.
No.
You got to fire somebody else. And unfortunately, Mike McCarthy's going to be that guy.
Jay Wayne still signs every check, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Now, how come you can bring up the Cowboys, but I can't?
Wow.
Just
Brett,
because?
I mean, you know what? I'll
Just
wear
because.
it. I'm a hypocrite. I'll wear it.
No, you're not. No, you're not. That's a loaded word. No, you're not. You're anything but that, Brian. What I learned, we were just talking about all those preseason picks, and Auburn now 1-10 when scoring less than 20 points, and 1-13 when allowing more than 20 points in the 2 years of Hugh Freeze. He's been bad in his 2 years at Auburn. There's no other way to put it. Now, I know he's going to have a big day tomorrow, and that's what they're going off of for next year. But Auburn's reeling from 3 straight bad coaches. Gus, Harsin, Freeze. That's hard to overcome.
Yeah, no, it hadn't been good. Now, we're told wait till he gets these recruits and wait till he gets in the transfer portal. I'll wait and see, but so far it has not been
How long
good.
we going to wait?
That's the great question. I think after this year, kind of hard to wait, especially with the transfer portal and how much people use that. What I could have done without today, Brett, you're actually the first person to cue me in that this was going on. You sent me the story about it.
And I didn't lose my mind over it, did I?
No, I think I lost my mind more than you did about it. But
I expected it.
You did.
It's no surprise.
No, it's crazy. But the golden at bat that supposedly is gaining traction, and there's buzz around it, according to a lot of people. But what this is, for anybody that hasn't read up on it or hasn't seen it, a manager can use one golden at bat per game to slot their preferred batter into the order for a single at-bat. So basically, bases
so Aaron
loaded,
Judge could bat back-to-back in the bottom of the ninth.
Bingo. Bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, and you've got Anthony Volpe up to the plate, and you're saying, well, maybe Soto or Judge.
You know why this doesn't surprise me?
Why not?
Ghost runners,
well,
across the board DH,
yeah.
How we do extra innings.
Yep.
The sport's a clown show.
Right now, honestly, it is.
Has been.
And it starts with the head clown that is the commissioner right now of Major League Baseball. It's crazy, but I mean...
And I'm not much for saying I was right, but
no,
I was right.
Brett, you were right, and it's hard to see.
Manfred's a joke.
He is a joke.
He hates the sport, and I think he hates the idea of me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, Brett, because everything kind of goes against the traditional baseball, what it is. Everything he's doing goes against that.
And trust me, anytime I get the feeling somebody hates the idea of me, I love returning the favor and hating the idea of them.
Why not?
I could have done that. Brett McMurphy and tweeting about the Columbus talk show, and that was not at all what was said. We talked about it earlier. That is irresponsible as anything ever to stoke something like that. Because when you say you're on the take, that used to be dynamite.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, it absolutely was, and I think still is. And
Brett just out there casually doing it, though.
Yeah, no, but, in the fact that the idea of, not only are you on the take, Brett, but you're on the take against the arch rival. I mean, that's on top of
on the take. It's
everything.
Nice for saying he was fixing the game.
Mm-hmm.
He was throwing the game.
Yes, and that's because when I saw it, I was
uncool.
Like, whoa, man, that's crazy. But I love the clarity. Where are you beaming tonight?
SEC ACC Challenge at TBA in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Big Orange versus the Orange. A lot of orange in Knoxville.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good game tonight. I think Beam Me later tonight, I talked about it earlier, Ole Miss and Louisville. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think two coaches that are really getting things going at their teams. Obviously, one a little further ahead than the other.
Look at all these ACC SEC matchups tonight. Let's do this in football.
I would love that. That would be awesome. But, yeah, they're getting it done in basketball, and it's fun to watch. But it's a lot of college basketball tonight. It's a lot of NBA. Grizzlies on the road against the Mavericks. It should be a fun night of hoops. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.